He's magic, the magic, the magic, the show time. Let's use Kamen Rider Wizard as a soft opener. How's that?
Still better than Mystic Force.
Fair enough. I only watched some of Wizard, so I can't confirm nor deny how good or bad it is. Okay, oops, I forgot. I actually removed the page. Oopsies, hold on. I need to go back to YouTube again, so then I can share the stream proper.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, technical difficulties with Nightwolf and Friends, basically, is what this stream always amounts to.
Yay! We're live! And in person!
It's alive! It's alive!
It's alive! It's dead! It's all of the above. Okay, so there we go. That should be properly set up now. And that makes me happy beyond compare. Yay. So, yeah, we'll probably chat for a bit and try and let an audience accumulate. Hopefully, we'll see what happens. But yeah, we're gonna be bringing back the Whatcha Toku about podcast stuff going on here again. I guess I was like, I want to talk about Power Rangers for some reason that I can't possibly fathom or understand, and well, probably because I've just been looking at tokusatsu stuff again, and I'm like, okay, I need to actually produce some tokusatsu based content for this channel because it's been a long ass time.
Any excuse to talk about Power Rangers is a good excuse to talk about Power Rangers. So
Toku in general is a good enough excuse for me, but yeah, Power Rangers is a good excuse as any. But yeah, we're going to do a tier list and cover all the Power Rangers, and basically Chat's job and Dalton's job is to convince me that I'm wrong.
I will do my best, but I refuse to disagree if I agree. So that.
That's fine. I'm just joking, of course. It's like, you don't. Everyone is free to have their own opinions. I'm going to share most of mine and give my reasonings. And if anybody has a counter argument that they think that I'm too off base, please feel free to know, tell me, and maybe we'll alter or change where the shows are as they stand.
Yeah.
But more importantly, what we're doing, we're going to go from the seasons that I consider to be the worst seasons, and then I'm going to elevate myself up to the better ones. So that's the order we're going to do it in. So I hope everybody's excited for that, because that's going to be fun. And I'm pretty sure probably most people will agree with some of the stuff, and then maybe there will be some people who disagree. Who knows? It all depends on what era of Power Rangers you prefer, or which
and or when your point of reference is.
Mine was at the beginning.
Yeah, I got lucky because I got in between Ninja Storm and Dino Thunder. Yeah. And therefore it was right around the 10th anniversary season, like in between Dino Thunder and SPD with the 10th anniversary. So Jetix, which I actually had when I was a kid, back when it was a thing.
Yep.
Released all 10 seasons in marathon form, which was an excellent time to get caught up in Power Rangers lore. And actually, I had kind of a head start because, and I mentioned this tonight while we were off stage. A friend of mine on my bus when I was in elementary school was a big fan of the original series Power Rangers. He was older. He was like a sophomore, junior in high school when I was still in elementary school, and he told me a bunch of stuff about the original run of Power Rangers. So when it got time to watch all 10 seasons in marathon form, it was less what the hell is going on and more, oh hey, it's that thing that I think the kid's name was Tyler told me about. So yeah, that was a very good way of getting into the show, and as such I have a extensive background in the show, and I did keep up fairly consistently with it even after it was like out of my range of things I was necessarily into because the
Yep.
quality went down, just because
Right.
nostalgia and geekery, because
Yep.
those are really the only two reasons I do anything. So, yay.
Right. Hey, Talum, how are you doing? Good to see you, buddy. Feel free to join us if you want. That's up to you.
Yep.
Or you can just lurk and chat. That is also fine. At least it keeps the chat engaged.
Someday we need to get him and Ozquist on the same stream and just let the Southern Hemisphere boys do their thing.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Just let the Aussies, just have entire control of my stream. Sounds like
I think one of them is from New Zealand.
Oh, okay. Well,
though I know that Tillium is in Victoria because every time they do something horrible, every time the Australian government does something horrible, all I can think is Tillium, poor bastard, and also the Dave Cullen meme of paid for by the Victorian government.
Yep. Ozfest. Yeah, exactly. Why the heck not? We'll get one of the more level-headed Aussies I know, along with the most cringy Aussie that I know. I'm kidding. Or the most meme-worthy Aussie. Most meme-worthy Aussie I know. I am the one in Victoria. Okay, good. That is confirmation.
Mm-hmm. Which means that if we ever need to crowdfund to get anyone out of anywhere, it's probably going to be Tillium getting out of Victoria, because my gods, is Victoria, Australia becoming an Orwellian hellhole.
Yeah, I've seen some of the stuff. It's not pretty. I hope all of those people out in Australia are doing okay.
Don't forget, you have the world's largest supply of poisonous animals. If the government gets too much on your ass, then just kill them all. Embrace your criminal heritage, Australians.
I am not going to endorse that comment. I'm just saying.
Vive la Revolution! It was November the 5th, like day before yesterday, so we're good.
There's been a lot of marches lately in Victoria. I believe you. I've seen some of those marches, and I'm like, oh boy. Well, that's what happens.
Powder keg.
It was probably bound to happen at some point, because when you let a government take more control, the more control they take, the less freedoms you have. So,
as I think it was, I can't remember who said it, but it's important to remember that Australia is not just descended from criminals; it's also descended from their jailers. So
yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And we're gonna shift away from that dour note.
Yeah.
This is a Power Rangers stream.
Back up in a northern hemisphere direction here.
We're not here to talk about the politics of Australia. Though we probably could, but we're gonna do our best to avoid.
Again, we at some point we should have the two Aussies we know on the stream together and have them just go at it. But today is not that day. So Power Rangers.
We could do that. If I can ever get Chris to join a live stream again, we can do that. Our schedule is just.
What did ever happen to him? Did he have some kind of falling out with everybody, or
no? I have no issues with him at all, unless he has issues with me that I'm unaware of. But no, it's because our schedules are so different that it makes it very difficult.
Curfew time zones portion of the live stream.
Well, that, and I'm normally working most of the week, so it makes it a lot harder to have people over and chat with them online. So,
okay.
So
Power Rangers
time. So, I could give a bit of my background and history. I've been watching Power Rangers since the original, pretty much since 1993. And I still watch Power Rangers, despite the fact that it has not been improving recently. But slight good stuff, but there's been a lot of bad.
I try to keep up, but if the season isn't any good, I very quickly lose all of my will to live and or keep watching, and then I usually wait for I usually wait for Linkara to do his history of Power Rangers videos and then get caught up that way.
Apparently, he hates doing those videos nowadays.
I think it's just because he didn't realize how popular they were gonna be, and now he feels obligated to do something that used to be like a hobby for him.
Right.
And that kind of sucked all the fun out of it. I think. I don't want to strawman the guy, but I think that's what happened there.
That could be one of the things. The one thing I will note, there's at least one Power Ranger series that is not here, and that is Power Rangers. The newest one, Dino Fury, is not here. So, but I will probably talk about Dino Fury after we make the tier list. Then I'll talk about Dino Fury and what I think about it. At least it's first season. Then we'll wait for season 2 and see if things get better. I don't think they will, but but we can try. We can try. Okay, we'll go over everybody else though, and then we'll consider what's going on here. All right, so we got to pick one that I consider to be one of the worst Power Rangers seasons possible. Where should I start off with? Because there's a couple candidates here.
Well, I don't know where your standards for worst are at.
You know what? I'm gonna start with the one that I hate the most from the onset of when it first started airing, and that is Power Rangers Ninja Steel. I hate this season with a burning passion.
Yeah, that'll do it. I don't disagree. I don't have as much invested, I think, in Ninja Steel because that was the time where I was like, I'm just gonna wait for the history of Power Rangers recap on this one because I don't want to suffer and cause myself pain. So that might be why I'm not entirely invested in the hating of this one. But yeah, it's bad.
It is incredibly bad. We should give reasons why we think it's bad. I'll start. For the most part, you took the concept of ninjas, which is normally a pretty cool concept to use, and you've used once, well, technically twice before, but we'll get to that later. And you managed to make it not cool at all. I really disliked the characters. I cannot even remember them. So that's a bad start right off the bat.
I actually, in my head, have trouble differentiating between this one and RPM. So that should tell you things.
Yeah, well, I would say that out of all the characters that are in Ninja Steel, the Red and Gold Rangers are probably the most notable ones because it is kind of a story of brothers finding each other again, which is okay if it wasn't bogged down by a lot of other really...
Yeah. And that's also a theme I think they've touched on better in other seasons. Even
they have.
Even in we just talked about it. The anniversary season that isn't an anniversary season.
Dino Thunder?
No, bollocks. The one with the cyborg ranger.
Beast Morphers, right.
There we go. Yeah. In Beast Morphers, the relationship between the android ranger and the main
Steel, yeah,
the main sort of point of view kid, that was a much more like found brotherly relationship than what we got in Ninja Steel. So
Ninja Steel was that the brother was literally missing. He was kidnapped or lost.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. It's kind of funny, but you care more about the relationship between Steel and
Steel and I've drawing a blank. Gosh darn it, I can't remember names.
Yeah, I know this is the least convenient time for these kind of memory lapses to happen. But the main emotional core of Beast Morphers was more compelling, and half of that team was a robot. So
well, at least one member of the team was a robot.
Well, I mean, half of the like emotional core is what I was saying. But Steel is a more likable character than anyone in.
Oh, he's probably Yeah, I love Steel. We'll get to Beast Morphers later because I actually do enjoy that season.
Yeah, it's pretty high up on my list too, honestly. I had all but given up on the prospect of doing anniversary seasons, and then they did Beast Morphers, and I was like, why wasn't this an anniversary season? It should have been.
Yeah, but the other problem with Ninja Steel is one that I've covered probably a few times, and that's they really lean too heavy into childish humor with the I can't even remember their names. There were those two characters. They were trying to emulate the Bulk and Skull idea.
Yeah, and not understanding why Bulk and Skull worked.
Yeah, well, it was also kind of in a reverse. Instead of just having two bullies that were just there to annoy you, instead you have a jock and a genius guy be the bullies, and
which, like,
it could have worked.
That doesn't even make much sense, but never mind.
I mean, it could have worked potentially.
Yeah,
but
like
I found them insufferably
if they had actually done something kind of interesting with it, that might have been cool. But unfortunately,
they never did.
No.
And it was insufferably bad. It was so bad. Every time it felt like they chewed up more screen time than the Power Rangers themselves. And because they seemed to rob any type of character growth, development, or any form of actual interest in the show. They took it immediately away when they were on set.
And they've done characters like this before who are like the comedic relief and who do take up a lot of the screen time. Like, I can't remember if it was Ninja Storm or if it was Dino Thunder that had like the reporter kid, the like blonde reporter chick, and
that was
her cameraman.
That was Dino Thunder. That was Dino Thunder.
But those characters had a similar kind of thing going on where I think the audience was meant to find their annoyingness charming. Like, their in-universe annoyance was supposed to be charming to the audience. But it was much better done in Dino Thunder than it ever was in Ninja Steel. So you can do side characters having a lot of screen time and being kind of in-universe annoying.
Yeah.
But you have to do it right, and they didn't. So.
Yeah, if I was to give Power Rangers Ninja Steel one bonus, is the actor who plays Mick. He's the only part of the show that I do not dislike. The only part. But that's only because he's a long-standing Power Ranger veteran and we see him frequently. So, and he's a good actor. Even with a bad script, he can at least be mildly charming. So
good in spite of itself rather than because of itself.
Yeah, but aside from Mick, also I don't think he did a very good job as the mentor figure, to be quite honest. But
yeah.
Well, I mean, to be quite honest, he's normally also the comic relief as well. So it was a little weird for
you can't really expect the comic relief character to become the mentor. You can, but it takes a little bit of doing to get it done.
Yeah. I mean, they could have done something similar to RJ from Jungle Fury, and I think that's what they were kind of slightly attempting, but it didn't quite work because it was no
RJ. RJ is actually one of my favorite mentors.
Yeah. Okay, so that's our first ranking. Does anybody? Obviously, nobody disagrees with this. That's here currently. So I guess we'll move on. If someone has any thoughts that they have for Ninja Steel aside from what we've already discussed, please feel free to tell me. Okay, so next one. There's a lot of bad here. There is some good, but there's also a lot of bad.
Yeah, the later seasons have been on a downward spiral for a bit.
Well, let's switch it up just so everybody knows that I'm not entirely biased and I only like the old stuff. Let's go with Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers, which lasted for like 12 episodes.
Yeah, not good.
It's not good. It's bad. It's just bad. I
can see what they were doing, but they did it much better with Galaxy and with Time Force later, so...
Yeah, well, I mean, the main crux of it was that they de-aged the main Ranger team. They turned them into kids, and they couldn't do anything, so they decided, like, oh, hey, let's bring in these alien Rangers that came from outer space. Just so that they could
Are we going to at any point set up their characters, or where they came from, or are we just going to drop them in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, they kind of did a little bit of development and not so much character development, but just kind of lore development of where they came from and what they were doing. But overall, I think it's just very forgettable for a lot of it, and it's so short. And I think it was just the fact that Saban was just burning through Kaku Ranger footage because he was running out. And he also
I actually had forgotten that this existed until you just mentioned it. And
yeah,
went, oh,
most people tend
right.
to forget that this is a thing. They forget that this is an actual season of Power Rangers. I don't. I watched it. I don't think I watched it originally when it aired though, because I don't remember it. Because I think the last time I remember watching Power Rangers was watching Power Rangers Zeo. We'll get to Zeo later, but I don't remember this. But then I rewatched it because I was rewatching the bulk of Power Rangers, and I was like, "Oh, good God, this is goddamn atrocious." I heard it was bad, but I don't think you can get. Ninja Steel is bad for different reasons, but this is bad because it's just was lazy, poorly planned out.
Yeah.
It was a weird transition.
Nobody even remembers it until you mention it to them, and they go, "Oh yeah, that one that was so bad it only lasted 12 episodes." Lol.
Yeah. This is just to prove that obviously there are old seasons of Power Rangers I don't care for either. So, there's that. Is there anything really to add? The only part of Alien Rangers that I really like, because there is one thing, I like the Kaku Ranger footage because that is ninja themed, because we like ninjas here. The one downside, or well, the plus side is that just makes me want to go and watch the original Sentai. That's the one thing. It makes me want to go and actually watch Kaku Ranger. So there you go.
This is basically a prototype for all the things that will be done better later. The team from space done better in Galaxy. The team kind of displaced from a different culture done better in Time Force. All the ninja related stuff done better in basically all of the ninja related seasons except for maybe Ninja Steel.
Thank you, Nerdy Texan Accountant, for clarifying. It was 10 episodes. My apologies. I could never remember.
Yeah. But in any case, most people forget Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers, and it's probably better off forgotten, all things considered.
Yeah, it was in between Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and Zeo. Yeah, I guess you could consider it the end of Mighty Morphin. I guess you could. I haven't watched much Power Rangers since Samurai. I don't blame you. Samurai is bad, and we'll get to it soon, I'm sure. The original Sentai is on Tubi. Really? Okay.
I did not know that.
It might also be on Pluto TV as well, because I was starting to watch Jetman not that long ago. I found Alien Ranger at Dollar Tree. What, the season? Well, no wonder no one can find it.
I'm not surprised, to be honest with you. Although one of the better purchases of my childhood was when my family took me to Toys R Us and I found Time Force on VHS. So,
yep. I used to have a lot of Mighty Morphin Power Ranger toys. I had an entire I had the Thunder Megazord, the whole thing. Or, well, me and my brother did. We shared it. I also had a Sabasword, and what was it? I also had the gloves that made sound effects. That was fun.
I ended up having a lot of Dino Thunder merchandise because, like I said, that the kind of trifecta between Ninja Storm, Dino Thunder, and SBD was when I got into it. But I wish I could have gone back and found some of the older merchandise because I actually like a lot of the older seasons better. I always wanted to have a replica of Rita's wand.
That would be kind of cool.
I wanted as a kid.
Or maybe Lord Zed's staff. That would also be cool.
Honestly, I could do with both of them. I imagine sitting there like the Sentry from Iron Man the Animated Series with them like trying to open a portal or something.
Nerdy Texan Accountant, I have a question. Is Tubi free and does it have ads? That's my only question.
It is free, and I believe the free stuff has ads. You can pay for more.
Okay.
And you can pay to have the ads removed, but like 90% of the stuff on there is free.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just I'm just curious. Uh,
It's it's worth watching.
I've been watching.
The ads are usually fairly short. They're only like 30 seconds each.
Well,
so
I was just kind of curious if it was better than Pluto TV because I've watched Jetman on Pluto TV. They have ads too. It's free and it has ads, and I'm normally willing to allow that. So I was just curious.
I'd say Tubi is a little bit better than Pluto TV just because Pluto TV is set up like an actual like TV provider, and
it also
Tubi has the benefit of having the like Netflix style. You go and you select what you want to watch.
Oh, okay. Maybe it has I'll check out Tubi and see if it has like a better function because there is an on-demand section, which was what I was using to watch Jetman. But the problem is getting to it is a pain in the goddamn neck. So, but we'll, I'll check it out, see what I think about it, see if I like it better than Pluto. Nerdy Text Account actually owns the 35th anniversary Sentai soundtrack on iTunes. That is a good soundtrack. I will not discourage you at all because I love Gokaiger. From the few episodes I got to watch at Gokaiger, I absolutely adore that show. Which is why, hey, because speaking of Gokaiger, why don't we go to Megaforce? or should just in general, and everybody knows where this is going. We know
anniversary season that doesn't understand a damn thing about the thing it's in anniversary season for. So goodbye.
We know that's going in the space trash can. We know where this belongs. It does not belong anywhere else but the trash can. Maybe
sealed and sent to the edge of the fucking universe. Thanks.
Yes. And stay there for all eternity. I mean, Dalton pretty much summed up the reason why, in particular, Super Megaforce itself is really bad because it misses the entire point of what an anniversary season is supposed to be.
And I find it hilarious that it seems like they're better at doing anniversary seasons when they're not trying to do an anniversary season. Like Dino Thunder is a better anniversary season than this because it touches on all the Tommy and like Mighty Morphin stuff. And I forgot the name again, and I like that season. Why do I keep forgetting the name? Beast Morphers. Beast Morphers is a better anniversary season because it at least like tries to tie together like the multiverse of Power Rangers and also has a really interesting twist with Venjix and Devox, I believe is how you say his name.
Venjix?
Yeah.
Although he goes by a different name at the beginning, he's
it's like I think it's Devox, which I always makes me do a double take because Divatox was the villain for Turbo and it just sounds too similar. But Beast Morphers is a better anniversary season than either of the Mega Forces. So buy Mega Force, do not darken my doorway again. Fuck off.
Yeah. Tubi usually only has 1 to 1:30 of commercials, but where the commercials won't interrupt the show. Oh, okay. What are the Power Rangers even up to these days? Shadow Fox is mentioning Samurai was trash. We'll get to Samurai eventually. The Power of Red was a really good anniversary episode. Or wait, what is? That was
that was the one where all the Red Rangers got together.
I think he's got the name wrong. It's called Forever Red.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That's what I was confused about from, and it was from Wild Force. That was a good shout out to the originals. Power Rangers right now is in a very weird transition period, I would say.
I hope it turns around soon. Although again, Beast Morphers was pretty good.
Beast Morphers was a good sign. I don't know what happened. I'm going to talk about Dino Fury after we're done with the tier list. Megaforce is really bad. The characters, I will say one thing that is a slight positive for Megaforce. the cast and actors that they picked, some of them are actually really enjoyable to have around. What is it? I liked Jake and Gia. Gia is normally a fan favorite nowadays for some reason. I don't fully know why. But yeah, I don't dislike either of them as characters. Noah's okay. Uh, Kind of a callback to Billy, which is fine. Um, Cannot stand the Red Ranger. Troy is complete garbage. And that's actually kind of a pattern and a theme for a lot of these, for some of these shows, because of the same issue, similar issues with Megaforce, lead from Samurai, they come from Ninja Steel. Because
yeah, I mean, it's kind of endemic because the Red Ranger, for better or worse, is usually the main character in these, especially with the newer ones. So
yeah,
if your main character is someone that I want to punch repeatedly in the face, or just tell to go away so that more interesting things can happen, that's a bit of a problem.
was hoping to get my son into the series, was thinking about to start with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. That's always a good place to start. Just watch Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Just get him. I believe every single season of Power Rangers is on Netflix. So
not anymore. Not anymore. The only seasons that are available, especially out of the old ones, is Mighty Morphin, and everything else is more of the current stuff. It's
oh well,
Ninja Steel, Dino Fury, and Beast Morphers.
Okay, well, if you can find the old show, then I just do what I just do with him what I did on my own in like 2003, and just binge watch all the old seasons to kind of get him into the lore. But then again, I was a weird kid because usually, for a lot of people get into shows for like characters and stuff. I get into stuff because of the lore. Like the easiest way to get me into something is to give me some deep lore to sink my teeth into. So maybe I'm not the best test case, but at least for me, getting into Power Rangers right as the anniversary came up and binge watching all the available seasons because Gen X is awesome or was awesome. Was the best way I could have conceivably gotten into it.
Yeah, let's see. The Red Ranger is like Shin from Gundam Seed Destiny. 11 episodes later, you get the true lead ranger. Oh, no. Which Red Ranger are we referring to exactly? Are we referring to Samurai's Red Ranger? Or we're talking about Mega Force's Red? Because I don't remember another Ranger taking over. Except for, I remember that in Samurai, which was actually kind of interesting. And yes, I can see Shao. You have the series on DVD, so your son can watch whichever one tickles his fancy. That's what I'd probably recommend. To say, okay, son, which one do you think looks the coolest?
Well, also, don't discount the possibility of binge watching it with him and that being something you guys bond over. Because I can definitely see a situation where he might be confused by some of the earlier stuff, but having you there to kind of fill in the gaps for him and teach him stuff will probably fill in a lot of those gaps. Like with me and my friend on the bus that I was talking about earlier, one of the main reasons I got so heavily into Power Rangers when I did was because a friend of mine who was older was really, really heavily into Mighty Morphin, and got me into it. So be the mentor of your kid, I guess, is the long and the short of that.
Yeah. The original red was replaced by green and then white. Oh, okay, now I get what you're talking about. Yeah, you're right. Of course, that's also partially because Austin St. John left during the second season. So technically you replaced him with someone who was not leadership material or didn't have quite as much of a personality in Rocky. So of course he took a backseat to Tommy. Not that big of a surprise.
Although everybody, let's be honest, everyone in this universe has taken a backseat to Tommy at some point.
Yeah. And what? He's already watched that's awesome. You had your kid watch the original Gundam? That's awesome, dude. And wants to build model kits. Cool. We've created another Gunpla fanatic. Fantastic.
We accepted one of us. One of us.
Okay, so we're in universal agreement about where Megaforce is. I don't think we even need to debate that. It's dead on arrival. What should we do now? I think we're kind of whittling down the worst ones at this point.
Like I have a personal bias against Mystic Force, but even it doesn't belong in the lowest tier. So
no, even I don't think so. It has a lot of issues, but it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's still got Udana. It's still got like a broader like mystical mythology. It gave us Rita as it redeemed Rita as the Mystic Mother, which honestly, if I had my druthers, I would want her to be a mentor in one of these seasons. Like if they ever do a Magic season again, have the Mystic Mother, aka Rita, be the mentor, and then honestly, you could do that as an anniversary season because seeing Rita, aka the Mystic Mother, kind of redeem herself and become the Zordon of the next, whatever generation. That sounds like such a fucking cool concept.
Everyone's like, do Overdrive next or SPD. SPD is fantastic. I don't know why you want me to talk about SPD. And Mystic Forces.
Yeah, SPD is good. Overdrive wasn't very good, and RPM, I would say, wasn't very good. Although
I'll get to that in a bit because I think right now we should discuss Samurai.
Yeah.
This was just a bad idea from the get-go. The fact they even attempted to adapt this just does not work. This is just a matter of a poor adaptation of the original.
What were you thinking and why were you thinking it are the appropriate questions.
Yeah, it's like, how could this clan of samurais be this way and not a single Japanese person? What? Wait, hold on a second. I mean, I get it, there's always
alternate universe and campy and blah 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 blah. But still, it's like, wait, what?
But also, the fact is that it is just a straight rip of Shinkenger. By all intents and purposes, none of it is original or unique or different. They just ripped pretty much the same stuff.
And
some of it is slightly different, but not.
Yeah, and in terms of Power Rangers, if you want a better ninja-based season, just watch Ninja Storm. It's better.
This isn't ninjas though. This is samurai, and it's the only time that Sentai's even done a samurai season that I'm aware of. But I wouldn't mind if they did it again because that would be awesome. But Power Ranger Samurai not good. Not good. It has a similar issue where, well, I mean, it's kind of prevalent for most of these seasons. Bad lead Red Ranger, but I think in some cases he's worse than Troy because he's basically he is a Gary Stu pretty much entirely. There's nothing wrong with him. He's absolutely perfect in every way, and everything has to go his way, which I think kind of defeats the purpose of the original because I've never watched Shinkenger, but from what I could gather from just watching like the opening and seeing some of the scenes, I'm guessing that the Red Ranger is kind of like a shogun. He's like the big lead samurai, he's like a shogun or like kind of royalty, and everybody else is his subordinate. Because they show an image of him standing there and all the other Rangers are bowing to him. So it would make sense to use, or, for that, it makes sense of he's in charge. He's the shogun. He's kind of the big boss. And we're all his second in commands or his subordinates. So I would understand why they would venerate him, honor him, and treat him with much more reverence and respect. But since the footage is that, probably for most of it, they're like, oh, how do we use this in English? Oh, I know. Make him always right.
About everything all the time, no matter what. And to be fair, if this was an established character, like if it was Tommy or somebody like that who had that experience and who had, taken their lumps and who had earned the Gary Sue status, that might have made more sense. But as far as we know, this is a new kid, and he doesn't he's
Yeah.
no more or less experienced than any of the other Power Rangers that have been raised into it. So
Yeah.
like,
Well, I mean, apparently
why?
he's been training more than they have, but
Well, yeah, but so were the Wind Rangers and the Thunder Rangers in Ninja Storm, and yet we never had them go all Mary Sue.
yeah.
Um, technically, Cam also, being the son of Sensei there, um,
Mm.
would be another example of this. Like there have been um Ranger teams that have been trained into it. Same thing with the Jungle Fury Rangers. They were
Yeah.
raised in this mystic monk kind of mentality too, and
Yeah.
yet none of them were Gary threw sticks in the mud. So either this is the one case where somebody actually took their training seriously, or he's just a Gary Stu stick in the mud and
Yeah.
he needs to just not be a thing.
Let's see. I think they were getting closer to the Sentai during the Disney era. Sort of, but they were also deviating a lot and making their own original stuff too. SPD is a good example of that. Yes, let's adapt Japanese culture and make everyone American. hold on. Shadow Fox. Perfect explanation. Why?
Yeah.
Why isn't there even a single Japanese person on this team? That's my question.
Given that the premise of the show is there's a bloodline of samurai that defends the earth from blah blah blah. It's
I don't even
what?
think there's an Asian actor. That's the funniest part.
It's what?
It's not even an Asian actor that I'm aware of.
So what did these incredibly important samurai bloodlines just race mix like motherfuckers?
I'm betting that's what I think. That's kind of the excuse. Wait, which Power Rangers did a ranger use a fishing pole? Samurai, I think. Oh wait, no, wait, hold on. If we're talking, are we talking Power Rangers or Sentai?
that was the power that was the pirate Sentai that they decided to adapt into not pirates, whichever one that one was. Which doesn't make any
Super
fucking
Mega
sense to me. They should
Force?
have just had a pirate season.
Super Mega Force. They don't have none of their teammates have a fishing pole that they use as a weapon that I'm aware of. The only
not to dunk on Mega Force again, but why didn't they just adapt the pirate theme into the season rather than just
because they
randomly having them have nautical themes without any reference to what the actual theme of the show is?
Yeah, it's because they mixed two of them together. Because they also mixed Go Sager with Go Kaiger. So
yeah, why didn't they just make a pirate theme season? It probably would have been more memorable and more interesting that way.
I will say, wait, maybe I'm not sure, but Power Ranger Samurai did have Antonio, the Gold Ranger, and I believe he was a fisherman by trade. So maybe you're thinking of Antonio. And I will say this: Antonio is probably the better part of the entire series, from what I remember. Because he's the complete polar opposite of the main. What was his name? Was his name Jake? I think his name was Jake for the Red Ranger. He's the polar opposite.
So, yeah.
He has to actually earn it. He's not even allowed to be a samurai because he's not part of any of the clans or any of the family members or anything of that nature. And he becomes a samurai all on his own. He trains for the most part on his own. And that makes him unique. What was it? The only other thing about Samurai that I like is the villain Decker. Partially because that is a other Power Ranger alumni who used to be he was the Red Ranger from Wild Force, if I remember correctly. But also he was just a really good bad guy. It just sucks that the Red Ranger is not nearly as compelling, considering that they're constantly fighting each other all the damn time. So yeah, that was disappointing. But at least there are some highlights. Okay, so who should we get next? Oh, hold on a second. Let me read chat for a bit. The Blue Ranger used one to get a Zord, and the Gold Ranger is fish themed in Samurai. Yeah, he is. Wait, Wait, I got a better samurai travel to America and breed with blonde hair, blue eyed models to make Red Ranger. Oh no. I remember something about a barracuda. Yeah, I think that was Antonio. Let's see. Let's see. What series should we tackle next? Let's do an old one now, or an older one.
Okay.
I'm contemplating where to put Turbo.
Turbo wasn't great, but I wouldn't put it in the lowest tier.
Yeah.
I'd put it somewhere around the middle because it still had like the actual connections to the other seasons, and like I'm gonna get burned in effigy for this one, but I didn't hate Justin. I know everyone hates Justin, and it's like he's the Power Rangers equivalent of Wesley Crusher or somebody like that, but I didn't hate Justin.
Okay. So I'm trying to contemplate between the worst ones, because right now, in my own personal list, what I'm looking at and thinking right now, we have 3 shows left that I consider to be either really bad or below average. So they'd probably be going in around the D rank. And that is Turbo, Operation Overdrive, and Dino Charge. So I'm contemplating.
I think Overdrive is the worst out of the 3 of those.
Yeah, I know. But there's also one thing that I'm wondering if it saves it even remotely, and it's that Once a Ranger special. Because it is a really good special. And it's all original too.
One episode does not a redemption make.
I think it's 2 episodes, but considering how forgettable the rest of the season is, yeah.
Like, do we salvage it because it wasn't a complete and absolute failure, or do we bring down Turbo because it wasn't as good as the first 2 seasons that were, the thing that defined a bunch of people's childhood?
Yeah. Right now, what I'm just Turbo and Dino Charge, I could maybe put either 1 or 2 tiers above these current ones. Mm-hmm. But Operation Overdrive is the one that I'm struggling with the most.
Yeah, I think of the 3 of them, I can think of reasons why Dino Charge and Turbo are at least salvageable.
Yeah.
I can't really think of any reasons why Overdrive is salvageable, so I think it's got to be Overdrive.
Yeah, because it has similar issues with the poor Red Ranger, and it was just poorly executed. The fact that he's an android, trying to do this whole kind of Pinocchio thing of I'm a real boy.
And again, done better in Beast Morphers.
This is true. Kind of better. There's still a little bit of confusion in that, but it's definitely done better.
Well, in the sense that I care about what happens to Steel far more than I care about what happens to the
whatever his name is.
Yeah, I don't even don't even remember it. Therein lies your problem.
So I'm trying to think about any other things. The rest of the team is pretty forgettable. They don't really stand out. That I can think of. I'm remembering a couple of the episodes here and there that were focused on a certain team member, like the one that was focused on the Black Ranger because he's an expert thief, which was a kind of an interesting and cool episode. Same with the Blue Ranger, who is a stuntman who's trying to be a actor. He was kind of a cool character. I didn't dislike him. I'm just so lukewarm to everybody on the team. And then there's the Red Ranger, who's really bad. So, yeah. Okay, yeah, I'm going to put it in F. It belongs in outer space. With the exemption of Once a Ranger, the 2-episode special, or 1 episode, I can't even remember how many episodes it was. I think it was 2, but... Aside from those 2, because, we get to see Adam again. We get to see Brick. I'm trying to remember names. The Green Ranger from Mystic Force, because I can't remember his name.
The
And the Blue Ranger from Ninja Storm.
Green Ranger from
Mystic Force.
Mystic Force was Xander, I believe.
Yeah. He's awesome, by the way. He's probably my favorite Ranger out
Yeah,
of Mystic Force.
of that whole season, honestly, it's between him and Udana whenever Udana takes up the White Ranger mode.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I like him is because he's more of a leader than the actual leader is.
Yeah,
so.
he also seems like the most fun of the lot. Like whenever he gets a power up, you can tell the actor is really showboating it. It makes it cute.
There are too many Dino Power Rangers. Okay.
The Ranger teams recycle a lot of power ups. Like it's Dino theme, it's Ninja theme, or it's like technology theme. That's basically the three that we have.
Okay.
And then the occasional one-off, like you'll get the occasional one-off, like Mystic Force or SPD or whatever. But
yeah. Let's see. Problem with Turbo was that it was based on a Sentai that was goofier than usual. Yeah. That's part of its problem. I like Dino Charge. Fair enough. I'll get to Dino Charge here in a bit. It got me back into Power Rangers, which is cool. Turbo is a C, according to the Soul of the Dragon.
I'd probably agree with that.
Turbo is C, Overdrive is a D, and Dino Charges put it between C and D. Okay. My bad. I thought we were talking about Dino Thunder. No, we're not talking about Dino Thunder.
No, there are many Dino-related Ranger teams now.
And Nerdy Text Accountant is asking, what is Hyperforce? Hyperforce is a web series of tabletop RPGs on YouTube. You can go and watch it at any given time. There are some fun things to it. There are some original Power Rangers. Basically, they took the idea and concept of taking Power Rangers Time Force and making a whole new team surrounding that. So the first part of it, from what I remember watching, they did have the original actress who played Jen be their mentor, which was awesome. The actor who plays Bulk is one of the Rangers as well. And the Blue Ranger from Ninja Steel, because he wasn't a Ranger at the time, it was the Red Ranger for that series. So, and then there's like Andre the Black Nerd is also in there, and I can't remember anybody else.
Right, I remember he was in there.
He was their Blue Ranger.
Which is too appropriate. Well done.
But yeah, I'd recommend. I'm not gonna rank it mainly just because I've not watched enough of it to care.
It's also not technically in like canon. I don't think so.
I think it's kind of getting into canon, but it's.
I hope it does make it into canon, but at least for now, like it's off in its own little bubble. So
yeah, I'm not gonna rank it because it's in its own kind of place right now. Didn't Hasbro say they're moving more away from the Sentai footage? That is a rumor. We don't know what's going to happen right now.
I think honestly, I'm of two minds on that because part of what makes Power Rangers as weird and cool as it is kind of having to negotiate with the Sentai. But on the other hand, I think there's enough Power Rangers lore and stuff now that it can become its own thing, at least a little bit. Like, don't erase the Sentai entirely. Like, you can still reference stuff, but like, I think it moving into becoming kind of its own thing while still trying to kind of keep the aesthetic of the other ones won't hurt it. And may I be struck by lightning if it turns out that I'm wrong, but
yeah, there are some positives and negatives. Maybe we'll talk about that a bit more later after we go through the tier list. We're gonna try and go through it as best and as quickly as possible so we can talk about other things. Shadow Fox saying, off topic, but my friend is planning a D&D Gundam game, but she doesn't know what timeline to put it in. I know I'm a UC fanboy, but I'd probably recommend UC. Just because you have many options to take. You could pick any of the time frame you want to build upon, or even kind of go a little bit out of bounds and maybe do something like, oh, hey, let's do something in the timeline between F91 and Crossbone Vanguard.
Most of the stuff that I know about Gundam is stuff that I picked up from either Nightwolf or my friend Nick. So I don't really have skin in this particular game other than what Nightwolf and my friend Nick has told me. So,
but I would just say whichever one is their favorite timeline, I'd say go with that. Whichever one is your favorite, do that, because you'll have probably way more fun doing that than just taking advice from someone like me. Just pick your favorite timeline, whatever that may be. Heck, even if it's Gundam Seed timeline, go for it.
You could almost, if you wanted to kind of play with the parameters of D&D a little bit, you could almost do like a steampunk Gundam type thing using like artificership classes and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go into which Ranger series we think are about a D or so. So I am going to, because I do think there's at least one show that deserves to be in D, and that is Dino Charge. I'm going to give clear reasons as to why. Now,
you're not getting any argument from me. Like I said, I was really splitting hairs when it came to comparing Overdrive, Dino Charge, and Turbo. So yeah, no arguments.
Well, I mean, there are some things in Dino Charge that I do genuinely think are good. The team is better. I mean, this season could end up going up higher if I rewatch it again. I haven't watched it in a long time. I remember not liking it, but considering now that I've seen Ninja Steel, I may actually eventually put this thing.
It could be worse.
It could be a lot worse, because this season, while I don't think it's fantastic, I do think it's better than all of these ones.
Yeah,
that much is obvious. It is clearly a better show.
Things could be better in this big universe, but remember, it could always be worse.
But highlights for Dino Charge that I really like: the villains are really good in this season. We barely touched on the villains in most of these because they're that forgettable. At least I remember the bad guys in this one. I remember, what is his name? Sledge?
I think so.
Yeah. I love the idea of him being basically a bounty hunter who has captured a whole bunch of bad guys and using them to try and attack the Rangers. Basically, it's like, I will basically let you go. I'll let you go free, and I won't turn you in for the bounty if you do this job for me. I love that. It's such a clever way of using him. The other villains are also pretty fun and enjoyable overall. I'm trying to think. There's the one that wants to marry Sledge. I cannot remember her name. She's always comical and fun, along with her cute, adorable pet friend that looks kind of like a cat, with a wizard hat and whatnot. They're cute. They're adorable. They're way too colorful to be around Sledge, though. That much I will say. They do not match with his aesthetic at all, because she's like full of hearts and like really shiny hearts, and she's so squeaky clean and shiny for a bad guy, while he's all grungy looking and whatnot. But the fact that they get married is cute. I like that. A little bit of a shout out to, Zed and Rita getting hitched. That's cute. I didn't dislike that at all.
I'm glad that they gave Rita a redemption arc. I'm wondering if she dragged Zed along for the ride there, or if they got divorced when she decided to start good. You decided to start good, Rita. I cannot believe you decided to start good. I'm divorcing you.
Oh, we forgot. Operation Overdrive tried to use one of the villains as Zed's son.
Was it Rito, the kid?
No, it wasn't Rito. They were trying to make it sound like Lord Zed and Rita had a baby. Not Rito. Rito is Rita's brother. That skeleton dude.
Yeah, sorry.
Who I think is pretty funny and really enjoyable to have around. But but Dino Charge has a lot of really good bad guys. I also would one of the highlights, one of my favorite villains in that is Heckle. I absolutely loved Heckle. I love the actor who played him. He was fantastic. The fact he has this whole kind of split personality thing going on is really fun and highly enjoyable. Especially when in season 2 he pretty much dethrones Sledge and Heckle becomes the guy in charge, and he infiltrates, trying to join the Rangers kind of circle of friends, and he's trying to be their friend and their helper, and he's trying to just be this normal human who's just trying to be a good guy, or at least that's what it appears to be. The one downside is that they broke the illusion too soon, because he never really got to fully execute any legitimate plans against the Rangers.
I see. Yep.
Which is very disappointing.
Yeah. Eric, I see you. Sometime around boot to the head o'clock.
Oh, okay.
Boot to the head.
Ooh, no Kira mode? No argument here? Okay, I personally prefer the Mighty Morphin Meower Rangers myself. You know, Maranya, I can't argue with that. That is a fantastic team, 10 out of 10. If they were on this tier list, I would put them at the way top because they're adorable.
Cat Rangers for the win.
Actually, I think there's actually a legitimate Cat Ranger now. I'm not joking. I think I saw something about that.
I hope it's at least good.
I think it's from the comic books. What time is kickoff?
Boot to the head.
1:30. Never. Hi, Eric. How are you? I own the complete series of My Morphin Power Rangers on DVD. That's 3 seasons. That's over 100 episodes of pure 90s nostalgia.
Yeah.
I also own Lightspeed Rescue, Ninja Storm, Dino Thunder, SPD, Mystic Force, and Operation Overdrive. I kind of weep for you the fact that you own Operation Overdrive, but more power to you. Okay,
I'd say sell Overdrive, but no one's gonna buy it. So
exactly. So just hold on to it. Is there any? What about the Ranger team? I kind of like the idea for the Red Ranger's dad being missing and him trying to find him. Which I think was handled way better than it was in Ninja Steel.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that his dad was actually one of the bad guys, that was kind of cool. But the problem with him is that his he doesn't affect any change in the show. Things just happen to him, which is kind of a really bad writing trope that I don't care for very much in the show.
Mm.
The rest of the Ranger team is pretty fun and enjoyable. I don't hate any of them. They're all pretty fun. They just don't get a whole lot of focus overall, which is kind of disappointing. I think they each get like 1 focus episode in the first season. They might get a couple more here and there, but I don't remember. Like I said, this could get altered later in the future when I decide to rewatch Dino Charge and say, do I like it more now or do I dislike it still at the same level? We'll see what happens. But overall, I think that Dino Charge is at the very least a D, maybe a C. It's kind of encroaching there for me, but not quite there. Probably because I just have a disdain for Saban's the Neo Saban era of Power Rangers. That could be why.
Mm-hmm.
It was Power Rangers.
I mean, you're not wrong to have that disdain, so you're entitled to it.
Okay, so I need to look through the list and see, is there anybody else that would belong in the D rank?
I'd almost make an argument for Mystic Force, because the ones that stand out to me as C tier I liked better than Mystic Force, but then again that might be my bias. So if it were up to me, I'd probably put Mystic Force somewhere between C and D tier, but I don't know whether I'd be able to convince you, or whether it's just my hang-ups of like the concept doesn't work and the like main team doesn't really work so well. Like the things that I liked about Mystic Force with the stuff that happened around the Rangers, and much like with you and the Once a Ranger special, the only redeeming episode for me in terms of Mystic Force was the episode where the bad guys get a hold of Gingy and make the gray all dark magic universe. And then they have to go to totally not a Living Tribunal, but totally the Living Tribunal characters. and plead their case for magic. And that whole episode, especially everything with the Tribunal of Magic, I liked. But that is literally the only episode that I ever go back and rewatch of Mystic Force, because I love the whole, we do not judge light or dark magic. We simply ensure that there is magic. And if I had the powers of a deity, that's basically the role I would take. I don't care if it's dark magic. I don't care if it's light magic. I just want to make sure that every single goddamn universe has magic.
I'm kind of in agreement for most of Mystic Force. There are some redeeming qualities of it, but there's a lot of it that I've just forgotten. It's been so long since I watched it that I just genuinely remember very little. The one thing I did like was Korag, but that's a knight that is wolf themed, so obviously I'm going to like him.
And you and your and again, I fully acknowledge that some of my hatred for Mystic Force might be because I am a fan of magic in basically every type it can come up in anything, and they really didn't use it well here. So
yeah, the one downside is I have no reference for Magi Ranger, the Sentai, so I can't say if it's any better. I'm betting it's probably better than Mystic Force, but I can't confirm it.
I would imagine so, just because I can't. A lot of the problems I have with Mystic Force strike me as a problem with editing.
Yeah,
and editing a Sentai that doesn't really work with what they want
if I remember correctly.
But then again, I've never seen that Sentai either. I'm just betting based on my knowledge of like filmmaking and stuff. I expect that a lot of the problems I had with Mystic Force were editing choices.
Yeah. I think that also the fact is that I think that the Magi Rangers are a family. All of the Rangers are related, so that could be something. I don't know. There aren't. I'm trying to think. Like, is there any? I can barely remember the team, aside from Korag, and what was her name? Their mentor. Help.
Udana
was pretty cool. I like that.
And I liked Gingy just because the idea of a genie, but also cat genie. I like Gingy. Gingy's cool.
Gingy is cool. What was the Green Ranger's name? Dang it,
Xander.
Xander. Xander was really good. He's probably my favorite. Like I mentioned earlier when we talked about Operation Overdrive, he's my favorite Magi Ranger or Mystic Force Ranger, I should say.
Yeah, and I like him too. It's just that, again, my biggest problem with Mystic Force is when they did stuff that I liked, it was always stuff that happened around the team, not to or about the team. Like the stuff that Udana and her like assistant were always getting up to was more interesting to me than anything the actual team was going, except for, like I said, that one episode where the bad guys steal Gingy and use him to change the world around, and they have to go before the Tribunal of Magic, and Tribunal of Magic just being awesome.
You know what we forgot about Operation Overdrive, especially the Once a Ranger thing? We didn't even touch on the fact that we had Bridge from SPD, but the fact was he was a Red Ranger. We didn't even touch on that. He wasn't a Green Ranger like he was initially. He's a Red Ranger. That means he's a leader.
Which I guess he must have got promoted off screen. Would have been nice to know about that. But
well, I mean, it's several years later, so it's not that big of a surprise if he got promoted.
Right, but at least like a nod of like, I got promoted, or I'm leading my own sub team of Rangers, because the Power Rangers in this universe are basically cops, so that makes sense.
Because in SPD they have multiple teams, so it could just be that he's just a part of a different team, and since he's a more senior member of the main,
he got upgraded from green to red because he had the experience of being green before.
I would love it if they actually did a comic book. Boom Studios, if you do anything at all, if you're going to go and touch on SPD again at any given point, please give us at least a short comic book explaining why Bridge is a Red Ranger and Once a Ranger. That's all I ask. I want to know how he got there, why he's the Red Ranger, and because I think that would just be overly really interesting to see. Because Bridge was the most eccentric member of the team, and he's a little bit out there and a little bit out of the box. So I'm wondering how he got a leadership role, because I never would have thought he would become a leader at any given point. It's kind of funny. We're talking about Operation Overdrive because we have nothing else to talk about with Mystic Force.
Yeah, which again, I feel more solidified in my assertion that Mystic Force is D tier now.
Yeah. They explained it. Oh, they explained why Bridge is a leader in that episode. I'm. It's been so long. I must have zoned out when I was rewatching Operation Overdrive, so I can't remember what his explanation was.
You're repressing having watched Overdrive.
Pretty much. And it wasn't that long ago either. It's like maybe about less than a year ago.
Which says all that it says about that show.
But hey, I would still love a comic book where they have Bridge leading a team of Rangers in the SPD universe. I wouldn't mind a little short like miniseries comic doing that. Do it. Mm-hmm. I'd love to see that. Do it, please. I would just like to see that because I think it would be fun. Okay, so now we're at Turbo. Because a lot of these other shows, I will probably be battling it out for the C and above tiers. So that's going to be very interesting. But Turbo...
Do we want to put Turbo in D tier, or do we want to start C tier with it?
I kind of want to put it in D, mainly just because I do not remember anything about Turbo. It's similar to Mystic Force. I barely remember it. It's also been a long time since I rewatched it. And all my information from it would be based solely on what I vaguely remember.
Right.
I don't like the concept of Justin in general.
I didn't mind him, but I understand why.
I think it's mostly just the acting of Justin is that I'm not a huge fan of. I don't like.
Yeah, because
he's younger.
Child actor. So
because it's the same reason why Alien Rangers was so bad. They had the younger versions of the Rangers.
Yeah, child actor.
And they were all child actors, and they just weren't experienced enough to carry it. So it's a matter of that. But I would say that the fact that Turbo does shift halfway through, and apparently, from what I've heard, gets better. I don't want to put it in F. That's the reason why, because when they change out the original teammates and they have a whole new team, the show apparently got a bit better with TJ and
when
the others.
when they changed the mentor from Zordon to Demetria.
Yeah. So yeah, I can't put it in C because it's been so long since I've watched it, and I can't remember anything about it aside from those few things. So
I remember liking Turbo more than some of the others, so I might advocate for it being put in C, but
yeah,
it has a lot of problems, and for as harsh as I just was on Mystic Force, I feel like it would be biased of me to not be at least as harsh on Turbo. So maybe end of D, but I'm of two minds on it, because I tried to give Mystic Force as much benefit of the doubt as I could because I know I'm biased against it, but I'm having kind of the opposite effect with Turbo, because I like Turbo more, like intuitively and on my own personal metric, but I acknowledge that it has more problems probably. So maybe they both just go in D tier.
It was kind of similar to Alien Ranger, where it's a kind of weird transitioning point.
Yeah.
And as some people mentioned in the chat, they took a Sentai that was very comedy driven with Car Ranger and tried to make it more serious, which didn't work.
And also, I'm gonna steal a joke from Linkara. Of all the things you could make the Zords out of, cars, really?
Let's see. Okay, so Nerdy Text and Accountant is explaining how Bridge became a Red Ranger. Birdman retired, so he was the most senior member. I can't remember his name. And Doggy Kruger took over his head of all of SPD, Okay, makes sense. Blue, or you mean AKA Sky, who became the Red Ranger by the end of the season, is now head of the branch. So he took Doggy Kruger's position, and now Green, who became Blue, became Red. Okay, so Bridge went from Green to Blue and then to Red.
Yeah. So in other words, police bureaucracy is interesting, and yay.
Well, that's cool though. I still, like I said, I still want a comic with Bridge as the leader of the Red Ranger. The team.
See, it seems like there's a lot of storytelling potential there, and if SPD had gotten another season, maybe we could have gotten it. It would have been cool.
Probably. Well, I mean, here's the thing: they could adapt if they decide, like, hey, let's do an anniversary season based solely on a Power Rangers show like SPD. There was an anniversary movie for Deca Ranger. So they could take that and do a sequel, or at least a short mini movie or something.
Yay!
They could. I'm not saying they will. They probably won't because
but
because
they could.
Western they don't see the value of doing like team up movies and stuff really. So
which you would think they would learn eventually because Avengers and the MCU are the biggest IP on the planet right now, but whatever.
Yeah. I'm going to put Turbo in D. Most people seem to be in most agreement of this one. So...
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I can't...
End of D tier.
That's pretty much the end of D tier. I can't... Most of these other shows are C and above, so I can't.
Yeah, like I said, I was splitting hair for the purposes of being fair because I have an inordinate bias against Mystic Force and I have an inordinate bias in favor of Turbo. So split the difference and just call it D.
Right. Okay. So since we're doing C tier stuff, where should I begin? I'm trying to look at like which one of these would I say is C tier in comparison of everything else. Because we also have a B.
This is where it gets hard because it's usually easy to say the worst ones and it's usually easy to say the best ones. It's the ranking of the middling ones where it gets interesting.
Wild Force.
Yeah.
I do like this season. It's not perfect, and there's a lot of it that
the problem with Wild Force is Jungle Fury did it better. That's the long and the short of it.
Yeah, kind of. Jungle Fury's I like Jungle Fury way more than Wild Force, but Wild Force does have a lot of good things in it. We have a really good 6th Ranger, the Silver Wolf Ranger. Love him. His story is awesome, considering that basically he's this evil wolf creature that they had to purify and save because he was originally a defender of that floating turtle island. So really cool story with him. Red Ranger story was about finding his dad, I think, and he was raised out in the wild, so he had this really strong connection with animals. All of that was really good. Villains were probably the reason why I put it this low, because while the villain idea is good, it was basically just a whole thing of protect the environment kind of shit going on. And
guys,
it didn't get any deeper than that.
Hollywood in general. Stop with the environmental messages. Not even Pixar could make it work. Because it comes off as preachy and moralizing every time you do environmental messages. The best examples are Captain Planet, Fern Gully, and the first half of WALL-E. So and even they don't do well. They just do it adequately. So
I mean, I get what they were trying to do, considering the time when it came out. I think it was early 2000s or late 90s and early 2000s. I think 1999. And activism of saving the planet was probably getting up in higher gear.
Yeah, I mean, again,
it kind of makes
the
sense.
Captain Planet Fern Gully era of
stuff. But the problem is that it wasn't unique or interesting. I will say that I can never remember the two side villains' names. They were like two bumbling idiots. but I can't remember their names. They were really funny, though. That's the one good thing. I will say, for villains, they were really funny and entertaining. Because they were trying to, like, get their master to, like them. But, and they even schemed to eventually, I think, overthrow him, if I remember correctly, which was kind of cool. Overall, the Ranger team, pretty solid overall. They all had really good highlight episodes from what I remember. The one I think I remember the most was the one with the Black Ranger, who's a bull. Because he's an incredibly shy and quiet guy, which you would think he'd be the more wild and loud out of the team, but
bruiser, basically.
Yeah, you would think he'd be more bruiserish, more kind of gruff, but he's just this gentle giant guy, and it's super sweet and charming. The Blue Ranger was pretty cool. I also like his motif because it's a shark, which is awesome. I can't remember.
Sharks are always a win.
Sharks are always a win. Well, mostly the animals that they picked for the team was pretty good, solid choices overall. You got a lion, you have a shark, you have an eagle, a tiger, a wolf.
The badasses of the animal kingdom, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. If I forgot anybody, or the bull. I forgot the bull. My bad. Overall, pretty solid show. Would not, praise it any higher than this. Because
it did a lot of good stuff, but it doesn't have quite the memorability of some of the other ones, and I think that might be what hurts it here. And also, again, I think Jungle Fury did it better, or played with a similar concept better. So there's that.
He wanted to find his parent. Yeah, save the Earth, nuke the whales. What? Soul of the Dragon? What the hell? Dude, what the hell?
We may look bad, but we don't care.
Yeah, you're right, Nerdy Texan count on it. The sad part is that there's not really a happy ending to that part of the story in Wild Force. Because, the main villain killed the main Ranger's parents. And that was dark for back then. That was some pretty dark stuff.
Yeah,
I was
actually impressed by a lot of what some of the Ranger seasons did, because they managed to make a very kid-friendly show quite dark at times, and it worked.
Yeah, and I think that's part of why some of these F-tier shows, especially the ones that are more recent, failed so tremendously, is because they talk down to the audience.
Yeah,
they're like, "Oh, hey, we're trying to placate to the older fans while still maintaining our more."
Yeah, they don't decide to make the most out of what they have. They decide to pander as hard as they can to the lowest common denominator and hope that someone might still find it entertaining. And that even Mighty Morphin managed to kind of upscale its audience rather than downscaling them. Like, there's a reason why every fucker who's ever watched the Power Rangers remembers the Green Ranger arc, because for a lot of us that was the first serious plot line and ending show we watched ever, because it didn't treat us like children.
Yeah. Speaking of Mighty Morphin, some people may strongly disagree with what I'm about to do.
Oh dear.
Yeah, some people are probably going to hate me for this. You guys can do your best to convince me otherwise. But as far as I'm concerned, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is kind of just in the middle for me. I'll give my reasoning. You guys can convince me to take it off, and then maybe we'll move it up a rank. But here's the thing. While Mighty Morphin Power Rangers... Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is the original. It's what introduced me to this wonderful series and to pretty much Tokusatsu almost entirely, with the exception of the big G himself. Hold on, let me explain. While Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is good, and I do think it is good, I think it's worth watching, the one downside it has is that it is incredibly episodic and very rarely has a continuing theme or arc going on at any given time. Now, with the exception of, the Green Ranger story arc, Green with Evil, most of it is Monster of the Week, which is kind of a detriment to it.
Okay,
Because there's no...
but to be fair, they were just establishing the formula. So you kind of have to establish the formula before you can break it, and even on the metric of establish the formula and then break it, like I just said,
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
for a lot of people, the Green Ranger arc was the first moment where something they were watching as kids, took the left field into oh shit, time to take things seriously mode.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have to again. I fully disavow when you shoot the flaming arrow that like well for this. Please be aware that I am not involved. I am not with him. I'm standing over there with whoever is shooting the arrows at you. I'm sorry. This cannot stand. I cannot co-sign this.
Okay, so you obviously you guys can give me, well, don't give very good reasons. You guys also in chat are also free to, give me reasons why you think it should be higher.
I'm not saying it have to be like super tier or anything, but at least put it up to B. You're like, God damn it.
Well, I was recently watching it again, the first few episodes, and it's right,
but
the formula, yes, they are establishing the formula. I will give them that. They are establishing a formula. And that's fine. Like I said, C means it's average. That doesn't mean
it's also worth noting that it got better as it went along. So rewatching
that's
just the
true.
first couple episodes is
I intend to continue. I will probably continue to watch more episodes later. I'm not saying I'm not going to, but I don't know. For me, I think that it's overrated, way too high lately.
And that's fair. That's why I say it doesn't belong in F tier or A tier, but I think at least it belongs in B tier, if for no other reason than a lot of the best aspects of the other seasons that followed it are taken from or referencing the original. Like for example, a lot of the best parts of Mighty Morphin, or not Mighty Morphin, but Dino Thunder, are Tommy related, and without the Green with Evil storyline and the White Ranger storyline, and what little there was to Non with Turbo, we wouldn't have moments without Mighty Morphin, there is no lore, and therein lies where I guess my defense for this is coming from, because you know me well enough to know that when I get into shows, I get into it for the world building and the lore more than I do like the characters and the emotional aspect of it stuff. So maybe I'm biased, but it taking a show that is so and again, maybe it is kind of a my childhood thing, but
well, I mean, this is my childhood I'm talking about here. I grew up watching this.
But even so, I think it's worth noting that most of the weight in other seasons is derived from, at least in part, stuff that began and still continues to be crucial to the world building of Power Rangers. So, if for no other reason than that, it deserves to be at least in B tier. I wouldn't put it any higher than that. Like I said, I wouldn't put it in A tier or S tier. But to say that it's average is almost like saying it's forgettable, and I don't think it is. So
no, D. I'm pretty much sure we established that most of the ones that are in D are forgettable. We kind of established that as a baseline. C is where there's a lot of good points, but there's also some.
C is 0, and I you can see the reflections and ripples from Mighty Morphin even in some of the better seasons we're about to get into. So I think even just for that aspect, you need to and it's also worth noting that part of the reason why we hate some of the ones lower down on the list is because they took something from Mighty Morphin and fucked it up. And if we rate our emotional investment into Mighty Morphin by that metric of when you do something really good with it, it puts you in A or super tier, and when you fuck it up, it drops you down to D or F
Yeah.
tier. Then that means that Mighty Morphin is at least important enough to be more than just average to most people
Yeah.
who watch the show.
Yeah. Soul of the Dragon is asking me, what did I think of the Boom comics? From what I've read, I like it a lot more than I like the show. And actually, that could actually help me tie into the reason why I'm putting it lower is because I'm basing this off the show, not off the show and the comic. The comic book actually does a lot of stuff that I wish that the original had done, which is actual growth of the characters and actually growing the team. The Well, I mean, not so much the teamwork aspect because that's always there in the original. I mean, just first couple episodes shows that because, like, what is it, like episode 2 or 3 is called
Making them
teamwork.
more well-rounded, I think, is what you're
Yeah,
getting at.
actually giving
That's
them
fair.
more than just their default 90s personality attribute. Like, oh, Kimberly's the Valley girl, Trini's the
No.
you know,
Tommy is the serious, edgy one.
yeah,
Jason is the
Jason's the
good boy
leader.
jock. Yeah.
Yeah, Jason's the good boy leader. Zach's the cool guy, and
Billy's the
stuff like
nerd. Yada.
Billy's the
But
nerd. Yeah, because that's the problem with a lot of the season. They do not change or grow. The only one who does is when Tommy gets involved. Tommy's the only. Him and Jason are the only two that go through any form of growth or development as characters. The only thing that Billy is there for is tech support.
But okay, I gotta asterisk for Billy here though a little bit because with his personality being what it is, and yes, it's a very cliche 90s nerd archetype and everything, it makes sense that he would get into the aspect of the technology and the morphing grid and become and also it's worth noting that he and Alpha became like best friends later on. So
I'm not trying to knock Billy's characterization in the original because I actually do like it and I like David Yost. I think it's that he just has one thing that he does, and that's not a negative against him because him growing as a person and building better technology is awesome, but he doesn't have much else going on with him. Like, for example, if I mention the Boom Studio comic and I'm pointing out Billy, they mention the in like the first 2 issues, Billy is talking with Trini in the Zord Bay as he's repairing the Zords, and Billy's saying that he feels left out of the team because he doesn't. What was it? I'm trying to remember here. Give me a moment. Feeling a bit inferior. He has an inferiority complex going on where he feels like he's undervalued by the
room
team.
Full of jocks and cheerleaders, basically.
Well, yeah, and Tommy just came in because this is recently after Tommy.
And he's the bad boy and the edgy one, and yada. Yeah.
Well, not really well, yes, some of that, but also he's cool. Billy's not, and he feels very underappreciated and undervalued by the team. And obviously, Trini is trying her best to cheer him up. Which also I would also point to Trini. She's kind of in a similar situation where I don't remember very much of her character. Rest in peace to the original actress. Love her dearly, but Trini doesn't really go through much of anything that I remember in the original.
No,
at all.
Not really.
Because her personality trait is probably the least defined out of everybody. I do hope that the Boom Studio comics help with that.
But I guess
they probably
will. I guess my only counter argument to that I guess would be comparing like to like. And in terms of like this style of show, I think the closest comparison to something like the original Power Rangers would be something like Saved by the Bell. And I think in terms of like if you're comparing original Power Rangers to something like Saved by the Bell, I think Power Rangers did it better. And I also think that it's worth noting that the target audience for Power Rangers might even be a little younger than the target audience for something like Saved by the Bell. So you kind of got to give it some props for even for going as far and as dark as it did in when it did, because compare the Green of Evil the Green of Evil storyline to something like the drug addiction episode from something like Saved by the Bell, or
Yeah.
or something along those lines. And
Yeah.
and again, I think combining that with everything else that I've argued here,
Yeah.
at least I wish there was like a in between rank you could put things in here,
Yeah. Right.
um like
Um,
I think the stuff that I've argued and the audience has kind of argued,
no,
it,
you guys are making valid points. I'm not going to dissuade against it because I mean, this is the original. This is the thing that got me into Power Rangers we're talking about here. So clearly I do have a love for it and I
mhm.
have a nostalgia for it to the point where it's like it could go up higher. It could go much it could probably go up at least one other rank. That's why I'm conflicted. It's I want to believe that this show is better than what I remember it being, but when I rewatch it, I'm like, is this better than what I remember it
Well,
being?
it, let me offer you a metric that I always use with the MCU,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is not only how good each individual installment is, but how much each individual installment either expands the universe or improves on the elements previously established.
Mm.
That's a metric that I use a lot with the MCU because it is
Right.
an interconnected universe and there are dozens
Yeah.
of franchises and storylines going on within it.
Yeah. Well,
And
and you know,
I
I
think
think
because of
yeah.
what Power Rangers became, you could make a pretty decent comparison between that and the MCU because it is a interconnected universe that spans hours and hours of content and also
Mm.
lasted from 1990 freaking 3 um all the way through current year and then some,
Yeah.
and not to mention all
Eh,
the movies
yeah.
that have spun off from it and whatnot.
Yeah.
um
There is one other point I want to contest with this show because I think that it's worth pointing out is the fact of the of members of the original team being replaced. Now, and while that's not necessarily a bad thing on its face, because obviously there were drama behind the scenes and the actors weren't getting
mhm.
paid enough. Fair enough
And it
for
was
the
made on a
reason.
shoestring budget, yada yada
Yeah,
yada. So.
yeah, and they weren't part of a union, all that stuff. Now, what I would say is that with new characters, they had the opportunity to actually build on them. Unfortunately, from what I remember of season 2 of Power Rangers, that did not
Mhm.
happen. Rocky does not get any form of character growth or development because, hey, Tommy, this is the Tommy show now. Tommy White Ranger pretty much covers pretty much everything.
Yeah, yeah, it's
The same
because
goes for, and
yeah,
unfortunately, the same goes for Aisha, and the same goes for Adam. Nothing happens with
yeah,
them that I
it's
can vividly
virtually
remember.
irrelevant to
Yeah,
anything.
and that's a real darn shame because we're going to talk about the next show and why I'm so conflicted on this right now. So you know what? Let me talk about this because we have Zio here. I
Mhm,
think Zio personally, because I recently watched it only about a year or so ago, maybe 2 years ago.
mhm,
I think Zio, in my personal opinion, is better than Mighty Morphin because there's actual character growth, there's actual character development. I'm a character person just as much as I like lore.
right.
I like lore, but I love characters. I
Mhm,
get more attached to characters. The more development they have, the more growth they go through, the better they are.
mhm,
And the more I enjoy them being around. Rocky actually gets character development in this.
right.
He had two
Yeah,
seasons in Mighty Morphin with no character development. He barely even has a personality trait,
yeah,
which is really
it's
hurting me here.
it's fair. I guess my thing is I have a hard time separating um
Yeah.
Mighty Morphin and Zeo because they are so continuous with one another. And
Yeah.
honestly, I'd say they both probably belong in B tier, but that's again me kind of splitting hairs. I understand what you're saying, and I do think that by the time Zeo rolled around, the powers that be understood what they were doing and knew how to like they had gotten through most of the growing pains and
Yeah.
they knew what they were doing. But I do wonder if it's a little bit harsh penalize Mighty Morphin for not having everything figured out when they were the
Well,
ones that
like I
were the
said, we're
ones who were
talking
figuring it out?
we're talking about over 100 episodes. At least
Mm-hmm.
about 150 episodes is what Mighty Morphin has. Zeo only has think about close to 50 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's actual character growth and development that moves forward. It even develops Tommy more. It develops Adam and
Yeah, that's
Rocky
fair.
and Aisha, Kimberly, and we're saying that they. This is hard. It's very hard. Don't get me wrong. I want to put Mighty Morphin higher. It hurts.
Well, okay. Um look at the ones you have in each category, and whose company does Mighty Morphin deserve to be in? I would make the argument that it deserves to be up there right next to Zeo because that's where those two always belong. Those two always kind of belong together. But
Yeah, but if that was the case, Alien Rangers belongs with them too.
yeah, but
And
the
maybe
difference
Turbo
being
to an extent.
Zeo took what Mighty Morphin did and improved on it. Alien Rangers
Did not.
is just it's almost an insult to the overall interconnectedness of everything. So
yeah. Okay, you know what? Yeah. I'll put it up higher. Because I don't like the idea of there being more in B rank than there are in C, because that just feels wrong to me for some reason.
Well, it's because it creates kind of a downward trend, especially with as many of them as there are in F tier.
Yeah.
But at least if there's an even split between the good ones and the bad ones, then at least we're being kind of neutral about it, or we're saying we're saying that Power Rangers existing is an overall positive for the world rather than an overall negative for the world.
Yeah. Okay, but I do kind of think Mighty Morphin could be better. I just think that it's not good as a whole. Considering its length bothers me so much. They took 3 Sentais to make it. But the problem is that very little changes. It's incredibly formulaic, and considering I'm more of a character person than I am a lore person, so me and Dalton conflict on that.
I'd say that a lot of that was redeemed in how Mighty Morphin ended, with the everything literally shattering around.
And then moving into Zeo, and then eventually moving into Zeo. Yeah, and they are very well interconnected together. So, I'm still looking at the list, and I'm trying to think: is there anybody else in C tier that I think should go in C? I'm conflicted. It's between Beast Morphers and Ninja Storm, because both are pretty good. They're not bad by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, I don't know where to call that one, honestly, because I really did enjoy Beast Morphers, but I'm wondering how much I would have enjoyed Beast Morphers if it didn't come out when everything around it was so subpar.
Below standard. Yeah.
And most of what I liked about Beast Morphers was it finally felt again like a Power Ranger season.
Yeah.
So
there's definitely
had Beast Morphers come out like when Jungle Fury came out, would I still have the positive regard I have for it? Is the thing I'm trying to figure out.
I would say that I like Beast Morphers quite a bit. I don't know if I'd say I love it, because it
doesn't quite have that like I remember it fondly factor. Now, granted, it did just come out like not too long ago, but
it's only a couple years old at this point. That could change over time. Maybe we'll end up loving it more or liking it less.
And it also depends on whether Hasbro manages to right the ship or whether it manages to continue the downward spiral of, oh my god, what are they doing?
So Beast Morphers is interesting because there is I think overall that the team aspect is good. We get character growth and development for every single team member.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy all the whole team is actually just a joy to have around.
I will say I liked Ninja Storm better, but then again, Ninja Storm was like the very first Power Ranger season I watched, so I might be biased.
That could be a bit biased talking, but Beast Morphers is better than what we were currently getting, and that's probably why I'm putting it in C.
Yeah.
There are still some slight writing issues with the show. From what I'm remembering, there are parts to the elements of not just Steel him. It's a correlation between Steel and the cameo that they put in for what was it? They have one of the metal heroes, or the Space Sheriff.
Yeah.
The original series is Space Sheriff Siobhan. They took his character and they brought him in, and they made him this cyborg where he was human, but he got modified in order to be a better fighter. Mm-hmm. But now he can't be with his child because he's a machine.
Yeah, G-rated General Grievous, basically.
Yeah, and they do fix it so that he can do that again. But the problem is because it kind of conflicts with Steel's story of the fact that it's okay for him to be a machine. And that is really difficult to, stick around with, because you say it's a bad thing for one character, but it's okay for the other. And there's a little bit of conflicting ideology in both, so it makes it a little harder. Though I will say, Steel is a joy as a character in Beast Morphers. Just like he's a joy.
He's honestly, I kind of, and this is a headcanon thing that I want them to make actual canon. Mm-hmm. I hope that Steel is made out of the leftover parts of an Alpha line, because I kind of want Alpha to show up at some point and call Steel family, because those two, if those two ever get the chance to play off each other, it will be glorious.
I think that would be fun.
In the same way that I like Brainiac 5 in the Legion of Superheroes, because he is a redemption for Brainiac.
Yeah. I haven't watched Beast Morphers. Don't worry, Nerdy Texan Accountant. You don't have to watch it.
It is good, though. I think if you do watch it, you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, if you were disappointed by a lot of the more current seasons of Power Rangers, it's the best one we've gotten in a very long time.
It's a bright spot. It definitely
is a bright spot. But pretty much, considering, like I said, Dino Charge is a bit kind of meh and a little bit below grade, in my opinion, but that rank could change if I rewatch it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Beast Morphers, I think, was a step in the right direction. And then we got Dino Fury, and we'll talk about that after the tier list, like I said. But also, Soul of the Dragon, what's wrong with your mom? Why does she hate Kimberly? Why does she hate my girl so much? I'd love to know. I had a major crush on her. Apparently, the Soul of the Dragon's mom does not like Kimberly.
Was she your crush during puberty or something? Is that why your mom hates her?
Maybe that's why.
Because moms can be very protective of their children's childhood. So the thing that tends to boost their children up into adulthood it's a little bit like the Mama Cosma effect from Fairly Odd Parents.
Oh. Nerdy Texan Accountant reminding me, I just realized there was character development in Mighty Morphin. It was with Bulk and Skull. You know what? You're right. And it's kind of bad when the comic relief characters get more development than the team does.
Well, but in another way, it made us love Bulk and Skull. So
that is true, and that is a plus.
And for pure nostalgia's sake, I'm just going to point this out, but Mighty Morphin has Alpha, so automatic
Alpha.
win.
Alpha is fun. I do like Alpha. Okay, so yeah, Beast Morphers. I definitely would put it
Actually,
in C.
funny story about Alpha.
But
I loved Power Rangers so much when I was a kid that my very first
mhm.
email address has the word Alpha in it just because I liked Alpha so much.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, so we gotta place Ninja Storm somewhere. Because once we get up to these other shows, we're gonna be getting into the
Right.
real thick of things here. Because Ninja Storm
You
is
gave
one of
Beast
those
Morphers a
ones.
C, so are we giving Ninja Storm a B?
I was thinking that, but I might put it below C because the bad guys weren't quite as good in this as they could have been, from what I'm remembering. They're not bad, but they're too comic reliefy for my personal taste. I like my bad guys to
I
be,
kind of liked the weird dysfunctional family vibe they had,
yeah,
but that might be my.
yeah, it's fun and it's lighthearted, but considering that they're bad guys, I kind of want them to be a bit more menacing. But
I liked though when they took a comic relief character and they kind of turned them into a badass. Like
yeah,
and maybe I'm biased with this one because this is part of the season that I actually had on VHS back in the day.
hmm
But I remember the episodes where Cubo became everybody's whipping boy and he just goes rogue and like he
oh,
almost manages to annihilate the Rangers
oh yeah, yeah. I think I remember
when
this.
Kubo basically gets fired and then he goes, well then I'll show you all. I swear I'll show you and blah 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 blah. Blah. That was
Hmm.
the like shellfish monster.
Yeah,
Um
and I'm trying to remember. Oh, excuse me. Trying to remember the other characters. Cam is an interesting character. I did like Cam.
yeah, and I liked when he became the Green Samurai Ranger.
Yep, he was pretty cool. Then, of course, there were the two Thunder Rangers.
Oh yep, yep.
They were really cool. I really did enjoy them.
Yeah, the whole like I the DMX thing came out of fucking nowhere, but I liked it.
Yeah, the whole that basically all of the Rangers on the team are like extreme sports fans. That was interesting choice.
Yeah, it was
It kind
like
of fit with the time frame of when the show came
yeah,
out because I
it
was a
was
big
very
fan.
much of its era, and it worked with what like props to especially the early 2000s Power Rangers writers. They were very good at actually understanding what kids find cool.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Do, 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 do. Um, mm, it's also been a really long time since I watched Ninja Storm. So it makes it very hard for me to
Yeah, I remember it well because, like I said, I think it was season 2 of Ninja Storm on VHS,
yeah,
and I rewatched that thing all the freaking time as a kid.
yeah. Let's see. I think that it's the Valley Girl thing to this day. Still can't stand her. Loves Bulk and Skull though. Aw. Well, at least she likes somebody. But yeah, I can get the
Falcon
Valley
Skull are
Girl.
awesome.
The Valley Girl thing with Kim is very annoying. It can be a bit grating, but
I mean, again, it's bad, but
it's a product of its time.
it's yeah, it's either Kimberly from Power Rangers or it's Kelly from Saved by the Bell, and I'd given the choice, I'd rather go with Kimberly.
Yeah, I'd go with Kim too. Um, but that's just because she's probably my first crush. So, or at least fictional character crush.
Yeah,
So, um,
I can't co-sign that. I am bi, but my two first character crushes were Hermione Granger from Harry Potter and Raven from Teen Titans. They go on our
fair enough.
comedy show.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm gonna put Ninja Storm. I think in B because I do really like this show because hey, it's ninjas.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of really good in the show, despite the
Yeah, it
fact
was.
that I think the bad guys could have been handled
Yeah,
better.
it was
Um,
quirky, but I don't think it ever really got to the point where it was overly quirky. And I think a lot of the more recent seasons are trying to do what Ninja Storm did, but not doing it well.
yeah. Well, the truth of the matter is a lot of the villains, especially in the F tier, are completely forgettable. They are
Oh yeah,
that uninteresting.
and
None
and
of
as
them
the and
are
as the
unique.
old saying goes, you kind of judge a hero by the strength of its villains, and it's worth noting that a lot of times when I talk to more normie guys about or more normie people about Power Rangers, that they don't know the names of the shows, but when I go, oh, the season with Rita or the season with Lothar or the season with Rancic, when I say the villains' names, usually they get it,
Yeah.
because the villains are memorable enough that even if they're not exactly menacing, they're memorable enough to go, oh yeah, I remember that season or whatever. So yeah.
I'm going to move Dino Charge up a rank because they're talking about bad guys. And I'm thinking that I do like Dino Charge way more than these ones. So I think it's too unfair to put it that low.
That's fair.
Considering, like I said, Heckle is an absolute joy, and it's a dang shame we never got him to transform into the Ranger form that he was in the Sentai, which sucks.
Mm.
Um, we never got, of course, granted, considering the name of that particular Sentai Ranger, I'm not surprised
Yeah,
because it
things that
has
will
it.
never happen in Power Rangers for 800, Alex.
Well, because it had kill in the name,
Mhm.
um, if I remember correctly. So yeah, look, I'll move Dino Charge up. I think it's average in comparison. Who knows? Maybe it'll go up to B rank at some point. Maybe I'll end up loving it more later.
Yeah, who knows? I, I,
Okay.
I, I wouldn't put money on that one, but
No, probably not. But I do like the fact that we have gotten seasons where, the bad guys come back and the characters come back. So that's cool. So
mm,
now we're in getting close to the A and S ranks here for me
mm,
and everybody.
yeah.
Um, let's start with Power Rangers RPM. Get in gear. I like this season quite a lot, actually. I had never watched it before. I thought it looked weird, and I wasn't engaged or interested when I first saw it. But I did watch it when it was on Netflix at the time, and I ended up falling in love with the show. um, I
Okay. I
love
yeah,
I love its referential humor.
mm,
We all make jokes about Power Rangers and about like why when they transform, why is there an explosion behind them? And
yeah.
they actually go into detail explaining the reason why there's
As
an
to
explosion.
okay, this is the actual in-universe logic reason of why there's explosions here.
So they took a Sentai which was Go Onja, which is mostly comedic driven. And they took it both seriously and comedic at the same time with a lot of funny Power Ranger referential humor,
Mm-hmm.
but took it seriously at the same time and took it like pretty darn dark too at the same
Mm.
time, which was really surprising. It's like dystopian world where a virus has eradicated most of humanity and there's only one
Yeah,
city left.
yeah, that's
And
actually a good point. I don't remember liking RPM all that much, but honestly, the way you just phrased that kind of convinced me a little bit. Maybe I'm
yeah,
maybe I'm a little bit too hard on RPM. Maybe I need to rewatch it.
what had a kill name? It was a ranger for the Super Sentai of Q Ranger, or how is it? The one that Dino Charge is based off of. It was I think it no, it wasn't a pterosaur because or a pterodon because the Gold Ranger's a pterodon. I forgot the type of dinosaur it is, but it was called Killer or something. I can't remember. Yeah, basically it is RPM Power Rangers versus Skynet. Yeah, pretty much. It is kind of like a Terminator type thing going on with RPM. And that really is impressive to me. I really like the characters in it too. Although the one thing I note about RPM, which is very different, is that the Red Ranger does not get nearly as much of a focus as everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Or more importantly, the main character of RPM is not the Red Ranger. It's the Black Ranger. Because he has this strange and mysterious past. He's a wanderer. And, he's not a team guy for a good chunk of it. And most of the story and focus revolves around him finding his sister.
He's the edgy boy of the season.
True. But the fact is that there's so much focus put on him that it's insane. Because the story normally revolves around the Red Ranger, not the Black Ranger or the Blue Ranger or anybody else.
Right.
They normally are complementary to the Red Ranger.
Yeah, it's very much the Red Ranger show unless Tommy shows up, and then it's Tommy because Tommy.
There are of course exceptions, but for the most part, yes, it's the Red Ranger is normally the main focal point of the show, and in this season he's not. I don't think that there's a Sentai out there. Well, no, that's not entirely true. From what I remember, Kaku Ranger, which is what Alien Rangers is based off of, the main leader of the team is actually the White Ranger, not the red one. It's the girl, not the Red Ranger. Because I think she's the veteran fighter. But RPM is just so unique in its own way. There's so many funny jokes and memes that are highly enjoyable. My favorite being, I'm Scottish. It's probably my favorite joke out of the whole entire thing. It's hilarious.
Okay, yeah, maybe I need to give RPM another look. Because it didn't hit me when I watched it, but maybe I need to give it another look with some fresh eyes.
Yeah. I mean, there was that, what was it? That one, the guy's sister was the bad guy, and she's talking to the Blue Ranger and saying everybody, explaining who everyone is. Green's the funny one, black's the brooding one, red's the leader, yellow's the girl. But what are you? And he's I'm Scottish.
Yeah, it's nice that somebody in the Power Rangers multiverse is in on the Power Rangers jokes.
Yeah. And I even like the Green Ranger in that series too. He's pretty funny in his own right. He has a bunch of funny things, and Nerd Techs and Accountants mentioning that the two actors are actually married in real life, which is charming and adorable.
Chemistry,
chemistry because they were really good together. Actually, they were fantastic together when they were on screen together.
Kind of like in Once Upon a Time, how the actor who played Prince Charming and the actress who played Snow White actually ended up falling in love with each other while they were on the show. Yeah, and they ended up getting married. I was just like, "Aw,
that's cute.
You two for the win, yay, true love and all."
Yeah. So yeah, I would put RPM up here because it's so unique for a Power Ranger series, managing to be dark but also comedic and referential at the same time, and honoring the Power Ranger legacy at the same time. Considering this was the very last Power Rangers series that Disney worked on, so as well. And then after that, we got Samurai, which we all know how much we love Samurai around here. Yeah. So
into you, yeah.
It's like we went from like nearing the pinnacle of best Power Rangers of all time to Samurai. So it's like there's a huge gap if you didn't notice here. We have RPM here, and we have Samurai down here. So that tells you something of the different quality here.
The dark times began.
Yeah,
Samurai attacked.
But I don't really have very much else to say. I think about RPM. Just overall fantastic. If you guys have anything else that you want to add about RPM,
like I said, I probably would have pitched this lower, but your arguments for it kind of convinced me that maybe I need to look at it again.
Yeah,
I might have just been in the wrong mindset when I watched it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're into funny fourth wall breaking referential humor, which I like in good doses, I mean, I like the Deadpool movies. Who doesn't? Mm-hmm. To an extent, unless it gets super annoying, which this show does not ever get that annoying with the referential humor.
Right.
So
I think one of the things that I disliked about RPM is the resolving to make it its own universe
yeah,
rather
yeah,
than just set in the future, which I
yeah.
think if they had set it in the future rather than in an alternate universe,
That might have been a
um
different. Might have made it made
that
you
might
feel
have been
differently.
better.
Yeah.
And also, I didn't like because it was in an alternate universe. I didn't like the implication that this was the first Ranger team of this universe. So
Well, I mean, we
I
don't know. There could have been other teams. We just don't know. Or
right,
did they
but yeah,
reference as
but
the first?
at least for the sake of the show, it very much comes off as though this is supposed to be the first Ranger
Yeah.
team of this universe, and I don't.
If they did the whole thing of it's in the future, I think it would be difficult because it'd be conflicting with Power Rangers SPD.
Well, okay,
So maybe. I
not
mean,
necessarily because what
maybe
you
that. I'm thinking like maybe that was their mindset. They thought like maybe it got
right, maybe,
it.
but the the thing is, using another franchise as a measuring stick here. In the Star Trek universe, you might think, it was a straight line for, from now until the utopia. But in the Star Trek universe, the 20th century was fucked up. Like
Mm,
capital F fucked up.
okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and it became a utopia after, and it became advanced and utopian after, um, the
Mm.
after the apocalyptic time. So maybe set it between like
Mm.
SPD and Time Force. That would
Mm.
have been my move probably.
Yeah, maybe it could have worked.
And maybe you could have it that the time travel technology was invented in order to go back and prevent Vengex from being a thing.
Yeah. Vengex as a villain was also scary and terrifying.
Oh yeah, he
He
goddamn
had a
like
presence that it was just so like, yeesh.
the only one that genuinely made me go E more than Vengex was Mesagog because
Right.
I was convinced he would eat me if he existed.
Yeah. Okay, so we seem to be all in agreement, at least that for instance, the piece of place from Jungle Fear, I believe it did. It did a lot of reference work. It did a whole lot of nods and winks to the original Power Rangers. So, or to Power Rangers in general. So it's
Hmm.
definitely worth watching, especially if you didn't. Because look, for me, aesthetic is very important for Power Rangers,
Yeah,
and for Sentai too, and Kamen Riders. Because you know, and we'll get into it with the next one that I'm going to put in A tier. But but I did not like RPM's designs at all. I didn't think that they were very good. I thought they looked very
no.
weird. The Zords were funky as heck because they're
Hmm.
a mix between animals and vehicles. Weird combo.
Hmm.
Not like it can't work. It was just they looked very goofy.
Yeah,
And
it didn't quite mesh.
but that's because it was from Go Onger, and in Go Onger those things actually talked and had characters and personalities. They don't in RPM. They're just vehicles. But
Hang on, I've got to
or did they?
answer a phone call, so I'll be right back.
Okay, that's fine. Um, yeah, it was confirmed of it was a crossover with Sam. It was in an alternate universe in Samurai. Yeah, that is true. It is. Of course, the truth of the matter is, for most Sentais, they are not connected in any way whatsoever. They're all kind of in their own universe. At times, they don't ever they very rarely reference each other or have this like long-standing timeline. I think the show producer actually said the F bomb when he saw the eyeballs. Oh. Oh, for the Zords, right. Okay.
My mom called me. I thought she needed something important, and then it turns out she wanted to call my aunt, and that she clicked the wrong number in her contacts. So,
Oops.
well,
Oopsie daisies. Okay. So the next Power Rangers series we're gonna put in the A tier category is Lightspeed Rescue. Because similar to RPM, I did not like the suit's designs at all, even because when this show first was out, because I saw the images of it, and I was like, Zeos I wasn't a huge fan of. I didn't like their designs. And I actually didn't like Lightspeed Rescue's designs either. They were really weird looking to me. It was like a full helmet. There was like no mouthpiece of any kind. It was just like, oh, hey, it's just a flat helmet with a big visor. And I wasn't into it, so I actually skipped it as a season. I never watched it. It was where I was starting to drop off from Power Rangers. But not that long ago, about 2 years ago, I did rewatch it, and I was wrong the entire time because this season is really, really good. It does have one downside that I will admit, and it's the villains. Because there's no development for them, they're just there. But considering that's the case, and I think that was also the case for the Sentai as well, they're just kind of there. The fact that they're actually demons is the most surprising thing in the Sentai. But obviously in Power Rangers, we're not going to reference demons. But
well, I mean, we get away with monsters all the time, but you use the D word, and then all of a sudden it's ugh.
Yeah, we're touching a little fine line here. But the best part about Lightspeed Rescue is the main team. It's the core team of Rangers and even the Extra Ranger, which is what makes this show so god darn fantastic. Because this show has probably one of the best Red Rangers in all of Power Rangers. I'm not even kidding. I'm not joking. In my personal opinion,
that's a very tough race there. But okay,
I know. But to me, like if I was making a dream team of Power Rangers and I wanted a Red Ranger, he would be at least in the top brackets. He'd be one of the first two that I would pick to lead a team because he is, in the truest sense, a leader. He's not a perfect leader at the start because he's actually learning how to be a leader. But by the time the series is
for the win,
he has personal growth in the first couple episodes. It's fantastic because he's actually a fireman by trade before he's recruited to be part of Lightspeed Rescue. And he actually has to learn how to be a better leader from the person who's in charge. I think he was a general or something. I can't fully remember. I'm trying to remember his name. Is it Connor? I think it's Connor. Someone can. The Red Ranger was willing to fight monsters on Morphed. Yeah, he was willing to do that too. He was willing to jump into burning buildings unmorphed. That makes him a hero by default. But he was just a really solid leader, but he had a conflict with the commanding officer. Not full-blown insubordination, but they clashed on a few things and they had a lot of and they had some really great character moments together that I think was really fantastically done. Most of the other team is really solid. The Pink Ranger is the general's daughter. So, and then there's some conflict between those two because the villains of the season attacked them at a very young age, and he had a son, and the son went missing after the attack. They thought he fell off a cliff and was lost forever until he eventually shows up as the Silver Ranger, who is, as I think Nerdy Text and Accounting was mentioning in the chat, where is it? Yeah, the Sixth Ranger wasn't in the original Sentai. The Silver Ranger for Lightspeed Rescue is completely original. So that is another huge plus because he's so well written for an extra layer of the show that I was genuinely surprised. The Demon Lady villain was very wooden in her performance. That's probably one of the biggest negatives. Yeah, darn shame too, because she was pretty hot, but yeah, not a very interesting or compelling villain. She's just kind of there. I think the main objective was to get energy from feeding off the fear of humans so that they could have the new demon lord gain energy because he was a baby or something. They weren't really compelling because they weren't that important. The focus was on the Ranger team more so than on them. I'm trying to remember the other teammates because the other teammates were pretty good. They didn't get quite as much time together, but they were also really solid team-wise. The Green Ranger was probably one of the funner characters in the show because he was constantly hitting on the Doctor. And then that was fun. And she obviously rejected him every single time because he's a flyboy who thinks he's the greatest thing ever. He's like, come on, you know you want to be with me. And she's like, no. No thanks.
You ride behind Maverick so that instead of bitch, go fuck off.
But I think, yeah, eventually they did have a date together, which was kind of cute and charming in its own way. But yeah, the team aspect is good. The stunt pilot was a good character. He was a stunt pilot. Yeah. Could someone help me? What is the Red Ranger's name? Because it's gonna bug me. You know what? I'm gonna look it up. Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue. Carter. His name is Carter. That was it. And he's awesome. I forgot his name, but yeah, his name's Carter. Until the very end when they go on a date. Yeah, at the very end, he tried to get her. I think he thought he was getting a date on one of the episodes, but it was a fake out. She was actually doing research for something else, and he thought it was a date, but it wasn't, which was funny in its own right. But yeah, basically you go to that to watch the interpersonal drama of the Ranger team more than anything else. And it's really solidly done. I can't rank it higher than that because I think there are some people who maybe would put it in S, but I can't. The villains, unfortunately, don't quite do enough to rank it higher. I guess you could make an argument for it to be one rank above, but I'm not going to do that because I still think that's a detriment to the show. And now we're getting to, is there anybody else for A tier that I think should go in A? Let's go to Lost Galaxy.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's really good. It's really solid. I would definitely recommend it for a season because it was the first season that differentiated and moved away from the Mighty Morphin era. It was the first show to really do that.
That didn't touch on Zordon and his shenanigans or
any of the previous Ranger
kids.
teams. Yeah, because it was a whole new team of Rangers. So it was starting to fully adapt the Sentai mentality. The only characters that were returning were Bulk and Skull, which they played very little of a role in the show.
No, but yeah,
they were there.
Bulk and Skull, so
I'm not putting that as a negative. It's just that they took up such little of the time.
It's not like they made them Rangers or anything.
Yeah, they didn't make them Rangers. They weren't. I don't remember their skits in this as much as I do for the other seasons.
Oh yeah,
but it was cool to have them because they were a reference that this is still in universe for Mighty Morphin, so we're still progressing.
It's still in Power Rangers. It's just not our Power Rangers kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not in the Mighty Morphin or the Zordon era. We're moving out of the Zordon era, and I really liked the team. Villains again they're a little bit on the lower tier.
The thing with Lost Galaxy is it just didn't do enough to like stand out, I think.
I think that it did do some things that make it stand out to being really solid, and that's
Yeah.
because they have that moment at the very beginning or in the first couple episodes where the team is picked, and the main Ranger's brother is picked to be the Red Ranger, and then they're attacked by the bad guys, and then all of a sudden he falls into a pit and is presumed lost forever or dead. And the kid brother has to take the role of being the leader while not really being fully confident he can be the leader, which is really good. It's good stuff. And then, of course, he comes back eventually. They also have probably one of the saddest moments in Power Rangers that I can think of at any given point. Magna Defender and his child. Gosh, that's depressing. It's pretty sad. It's very unfortunate and very sad. It's the fact that his kid is dead. That to me kind of puts
Power Rangers was never quite Shakespeare, but it had its moments of not pulling punches, folks.
Yeah, that poor little Magna Defender boy. He didn't deserve that fate, and it's sad. And it's not like the show didn't also touch on death more than once, because it also did the same thing with the Pink Ranger too, because the actress actually had to be written out of the show because she was battling leukemia.
And that was handled about as well as it could be expected. So that
it was handled pretty darn well. I give it credit for handling it so very well. And they brought the actress from In Space who played Astronema to, I think, I can't remember her actual name. I always remember her as Astronema. And they brought her back, and she got to be the Pink Ranger for a time until the actress was well enough to come back. So she didn't stay dead, which was weird. But the fact that she did die, basically, and come back was really cool. And it's definitely something that very few Power Rangers has done.
I guess we now know why too much pink energy is dangerous.
Yes, now we know the reason why. But overall, really solid season. I would definitely say worth watching more than once because it is that good.
Yeah, it deserves to be A. It just doesn't distinguish itself to S levels.
But the one thing I will say though is or I was thinking of something and I'm drawing a blank now. Gosh darn it. Yeah, I'm drawing a bit of a blank. I just blanked out. Okay, so pretty much everyone's in agreement where the Lost Galaxy is. Some people would probably rank it much lower than this, but I think it's doing it a huge disservice if people rank it lower than that. It's debatable.
It's good. It's good. It's just not among the top tier of Power Rangers. But there's a lot of Power Ranger seasons. So, and especially lately, I would beg for something as good as Lost Galaxy was. So
yeah, I would beg for that too. Okay, so I'm thinking about, is there anybody else who I'd want to put an A? And actually, you know what? I'm going to take a quick break because I need to use the bathroom.
Okay.
I'll return in a moment.
Yes, and I shall entertain the chat because...
Entertain the people.
Yeah, because he left me alone with the chat. And in the immortal words of the Billy and Mandy meme, that was horrible mistake number one. Let's see, what else is it saying? So... Nerdy Text Accountant says, I can't remember names to save my life. Yeah, Nerdy Text Accountant. I'm usually better at it, but there's just so many so many seasons of things, and I already have so many other veins of geekery in me, so it's just like somewhere in the back of my mind, some of these names get dumped out. I'm just grateful that a lot of the ones I grew up with, honestly, are getting pretty high up on the list here because, like, I, I know everyone has nostalgia goggles, but I genuinely think that when I grew up with it, it was some of the best seasons of the show. So, and I do have the comparison of watching them all. So there's that. And it's 9 o'clock on a Saturday. The regular crowd shuffles in. There's an old man sitting next to me, making love to his tonic and gin. Says, son, can you play me a memory? I'm not really sure how it goes. It's sad and it's sweet, and I knew it complete when I wore a younger man's clothes. La la la, yeah. La 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 la. Sorry.
I gotta use the bathroom.
Soul of the Dragon, yes, I will agree that the Lost Galaxy and In Space Team was pretty good. Not one that I have a great degree of experience with, mind you, but yeah, it's good. I hope Nightwolf didn't get sucked into another dimension or something.
I'm coming back. I'm almost there.
Huzzah.
I'm back. What did I miss?
Not really much, just me in the chat kind of talking, and then I did fill the void with singing Piano Man for a little bit because
Okay, cool.
I ran out of stuff to say, and then I realized it was 9 o'clock anyway, so it was like, why not?
The Lost Galaxy in Space team up was awesome. Yes, it was. Okay, so speaking of in space, maybe we should cover in space next and where to put it. I love this season. Out of the original Zordon era, it is my absolute favorite season out of all of them. That's not an exaggeration. I do genuinely love this season. We had an entire team of evil rangers. For one, we had the Psycho Rangers, which was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
We got pretty solid villains overall, not just the Psycho Rangers, but Astronema, Andros's sister, is a pretty good villain, and then there's what was that other guy's name? He was the guy who looked like a computer grid screen. He was green and black. He looked like all grid-like. And I'm drawing a blank on his name.
That's a good question. I can't remember, and I feel like an idiot.
Yeah, and I'm because that was just really good stuff. The team was pretty good too. We had some characters that were coming back from Turbo. So we had TJ and we had Carlos and
Sector,
oh,
according to Soul of the Dragon.
what was his name?
Sector.
Sector? Was that his name? It kind of sounds
Yeah,
similar. It sounds
and
like it would be.
that's what Soul of the Dragon said. I'm not sure if that's the right answer or not.
It could be. It could be. Um, but yeah, I liked him as a villain too. Um, silly alarms. Um, but I'm wondering where to put it. And the team is pretty good. I like the story with the Silver Ranger because that's like Andros's only teammate, and he keeps him a secret from everybody because he's in a coma basically. That was a pretty good element to the story. It built up drama, and they were wondering like, why is he hiding stuff from us? He's our leader. Why is he hiding it? Because obviously it hurt to put his friend in cryosleep.
Yeah.
And he also didn't want them to know about how the fact that his team died or lost.
Yeah.
There's also the just overall the culmination of all the seasons of Power Rangers up to this point, and Zordon's final ultimate sacrifice to purge the universe of evil, which clearly did not work. Womp womp.
Which just sort of puts lots of pain on that wound there, but damn.
Yeah. I mean, he tried. I'll give him that. He definitely put in effort and he tried. So
well, and we don't know what the universe would look like without Zordon's sacrifice, and it is worth noting that after Zordon's sacrifice, most of the villains are more silly than anything. So, like,
depending on which villain we're looking at, but you got a good point.
Comparing pre-sacrifice era to post-sacrifice era, most of the villains just seem to be kind of annoyed more than
mildly
malevolent. So maybe the sacrifice did do something. Maybe it turned people who would otherwise be evil into just kind of
mildly irritated of teenagers.
Yeah.
Or something to that nature.
Maybe Lothar used to be like Kang the Conqueror, and Zordon Sacrifice rewrote time enough so that he's just a goofball now, and so on. Which brings up the question of if this is the post Evil Sacrifice retcon era because Zordon Sacrifice, what the hell were Mesogog, Grum, and Venjix like before? Like if this is the timeline with the majority of its essence of evil taken out because Zordon Sacrifice, how just sheer malevolent must Grum and Mesogog and the like have been before? Damn.
I think I'm gonna put Power Rangers in Space in A. Nerdy Tax Accountant's not really making an argument for putting it in A, but I kind of want to put it there too, because I mean it's so close. We're talking about threading a needle here. This is, like I said, this is one of my all-time favorite Power Ranger seasons. I love the theme song.
This is where it gets hard, folks.
This is where we're getting into the nitty-gritty, though. I will say that probably the last 4 that are here are gonna go where you think they're gonna go.
Yeah,
there probably won't be very much of a surprise with these 4, but unless someone wants to make an argument for me to put them lower. So
I mean, yeah. I grew up on Dino Thunder at SPD, so you're not getting any arguments there.
Fair point.
And I love Jungle Fury. RJ is one of my favorite mentors. So
yeah. But Power Rangers in Space in the A category, I think is fair. What happened?
I don't know.
Can anybody hear me? Because I can't hear Dalton anymore.
I can hear you fine. Yes.
Did I accidentally mute Dalton?
Hang on, I'll answer in chat.
Or did I mute something else? What happened? Say something if you guys can hear me. You can't hear me. What happened? What happened? What the heck? Why can't I hear anybody?
I
What the heck? What happened?
I think Nightwolf
That is
might
really
have
weird.
died, folks.
I didn't touch anything. Okay, I'm back. Can everybody hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, apparently if you touch the tab on the StreamYard, apparently if you touch it, it mutes you. How, I don't know. That is really weird. I guess I must have, when I was switching over to here, I must have accidentally pressed it and it muted me for some reason. What the heck? That is so bizarre. Okay, but I'm back now. I can hear everything just fine. Thank God.
Huzzah.
Crisis averted. Finally. Okay, so we're going to make our arguments for these four to be an S. Okay. And of course, everybody is free to share any other alternate opinions. I don't want you to just conform to my beliefs and worldviews.
Well, I already did my argumentative duty with simping for Mighty Morphin. So
fair point. Fair play to you. Fair play to you. Let's start with Time Force, because I would say it's probably one of my all-time favorite Power Ranger seasons.
Oh, it's so cool, and Rancic is a badass. So
yeah, he's probably one of the scarier villains in Power Rangers after the loss of Zordon. And it's probably one of the most well-developed ones too.
Now thinking about it again with my little quip from earlier, if maybe this is the evil sacrificed universe, and all the villains have been downgraded at tier 2 by the result. How evil must Rancic have originally been if this is the post-evil removal?
He killed version? He killed a scientist that was trying to help him. Yeah. I wouldn't exactly say that I mean, the great thing about him as a bad guy is because he goes through a redemption arc from being just a flat out villain to being, actually being a good guy. So it's not that bad, or it's really good that it's like, not only is he a bad guy, but he also has a redemption arc to top it all off, because obviously it's society that's made him the way that he is, or society played a major role in him being a bad guy, because mutants are looked down upon.
Future dystopia is future dystopia.
Yeah. So him, going out and lashing out against it makes a lot of sense. His daughter, being the spoiled child that she is, was always comical and entertaining. And even she had her, somber and sad moments too. But I do have to ask the question of, did she become a mutant like her father after the fact, or when did that happen exactly? It's like, did Rancic find another mutant and have a wife, and then thus the child is born?
And if so, why is he so gung-ho to be cured constantly? Because like, obviously that didn't impact your ability to have a kid, or maybe it did, and like, or maybe like he didn't realize he was a mutant until after she was born, and then because he mutated her, he felt bad or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they never really touch on that part. I think we're probably reading too much into it, obviously.
Well, I mean, we're two grown men talking about Power Rangers for 3 hours, so the ship of reading too much into it probably sailed a long time ago.
But I also really love that this is the only time in Power Rangers, well, with the exception, I think right now currently, of Beast Morphers, of actually having an actual relationship between characters, where Rangers are actually in a romantic, not just like in, oh, hey, we're dating a little bit, and then, oh, here,
but actually demonstrating the let's see the ins and outs of the relationship part.
Yeah, and having a full-blown relationship.
For a show targeted at the age group it's targeted at, is pretty impressive for Power Rangers.
Yeah, and Time Force has the best one out of any of them because of that. Because it's like, not only does, Wes and I forgot her name, Jen, there, that is. Wes and Jen have this really great relationship, although it doesn't start off with like, oh, hey, this is a romantic relationship. It's more like, you're an idiot, get the hell out of here kind of relationship. But, the fact that she already lost the love of her life, and she's now in a different time period with a guy who looks oddly similar to her prior fiance, let's say, and and then there's the fact
it's almost like it took. I sort of headcanon the idea that they gave rise to the bloodline that eventually spawned him.
Probably
because time shenanigans.
Probably, or something to that nature. But I won't get into that complication because that
you almost dated your own grandchild. How do you feel? Kind of thing.
Yeah, it's the whole timey-wimey nonsense. I don't really want to get that particular.
Can't keep it straight in your head, to quote the 11th Doctor.
But also, it's not just that the villains were really good in this, because they were, but it's that we also had a governmental antagonist in the series too.
Mm-hmm.
We had Wes's dad, who was running a private security team that was not only trying to stop the monsters, but also trying to stop the Rangers as well, or trying to, arrest them or whatever the case. And I'm drawing a blank on the Sixth Ranger, who was a member of that security force. That was really cool. He was a very cool foil for Wes, because Wes had a very devil-may-care kind of attitude, kind of like a spoiled rich kid, because he was.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously this is the guy who, and then the other guy is like, I worked my butt off for all of this, I've earned everything I got, and thinking that he's just an entitled little
it's the Zuko versus Azula thing. Some people are born lucky, others are lucky to be born.
Yeah, so that was a really good team dynamic. I will say that the other team members aren't nearly as well developed for the rest of the displaced Rangers, but they're all still pretty solid overall. I think the only one that is the most lacking out of the team is the Blue Ranger, because he really doesn't do anything through most of the season. He does have a focus episode, but he doesn't really have much of a personality as the others do.
He's just kind of, and also the Blue Ranger.
That's not always the case, because we're going to get to that, because there is a team here two teams here that have really good Blue Rangers. But because I know in Sentai, Blue Rangers are normally like the second. They're kind of like felt like they're kind of second in command to the Red Ranger.
Yeah, the Spock to the Red Ranger's Kirk, basically.
Yeah, kind of like that kind of mentality. So normally the Blue Rangers are normally pretty strong character-wise in the Sentais. Sometimes it's a different color, like maybe it's the Black Ranger. That's definitely the case for Jetman, because it's the Black Ranger who's basically the foil to the Red Ranger's optimistic, hey, we gotta go fight evil kind of thing. And the Black guy's like, look, dude, I just want to pick up chicks and be left alone. Could you please leave me the hell alone?
I can sort of empathize with this.
I actually like that character. Oh, what is his name is Guy, I think. He's awesome, by the way. And I remembered watching a video a long time ago. This is completely off topic for the tier list, but it's a video with the suit actor wearing the black Jet Ranger outfit, or Jetman Ranger outfit, and he's schmoozing with all of the other Lady Rangers, flirting with them and whatnot, and being the suave man that he is, because he's good looking dude and he knows what he wants. So like,
Chad Ranger.
He's the Chad Ranger, definitely. I don't think we have one of those in the actual Power Rangers, which is kind of disappointing. We don't have a Chad Ranger. We need one. We have a lot of emo badass like Lunar Rangers that sort of by default would be Chads, but Yeah,
But
and probably
this is the problem. With the exception of the odd nerd character, like it's the same by the Bow problem. There's no real
yeah,
reason why these characters should be friends, other than the fact that circumstance requires them to be friends.
yeah,
Because if we were going by like real world high school rules, somebody like Rocky or Jason would probably be beating the fuck out of Billy on any given day. Um, and so on. So it's good that they all wound up to be friends together, but by rights, you know, Zordon kind of picked the Chads of the Chads should
yeah,
be Ranger teams mostly, and the trend kind of continues because it's always the the gruff badass who's always either the leader or the loner character or both
yeah.
sometimes.
Guy is definitely more of the loner type. He's just he's the prototypical thing of what you would expect a bad boy to be. He wears leather, rides a motorcycle, smokes cigarettes because that was
Yeah,
acceptable.
the tough
Um,
TM character.
yeah, and he's got a bad attitude on top of it. He doesn't like working with the team, and him and the Red Ranger are actually first few episodes because they're trying to recruit him to join the team, and he's just physically getting into altercations with the Red Ranger. He's like, "You even come near me again, I'll beat the ever loving crap out of you."
Yeah,
You even breathe in my general direction.
it's the Andrew Clark and Bender from Breakfast Club fight, basically.
Yeah, yeah, kind of. It's kind of like that, and it's really good. I really enjoy it. I like the way that those two work off one another because the rest of the team is kind of just. I wouldn't say they're bad characters yet because I'm only like 4 episodes in. They're good characters. Like one's a prissy rich girl, one's an athlete who apparently really needs money because she's in high school, and then there's a guy who was a farmer, but he's fat and overweight, which is kind of interesting. Um,
Mm-hmm.
for a ranger, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I like them. They're cute and they're quirky, and I enjoy their characters quite a bit. And it's probably going to get better over time. But yeah, the Black and Red Rangers definitely stand out the most because I'm like, damn, you guys are just kiss and make up already.
Dominant struggles, they're
Yeah, it's
deciding
like
which one of them gets to
dominant
be alpha male
personalities.
thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like dominant personality things going on. So, yeah. Soul of the Dragon saying Rancic was a badass and he was the only villain the Power Rangers didn't beat. You know what? True. They didn't. He gave up when he nearly killed his daughter. Yeah, that's true.
Yep, which I can't fault him for, because duh.
Yeah,
but
family bonds. Nuri Texan Accountant saying, sadly, Time Force was the one I didn't watch too much. Well, go back and watch it because it's really, really good.
It's a good time, especially if you're at all nostalgic for like the 90s edginess.
Yeah.
You'll like Time Force. It's good.
Okay, so Dalton, I'll let you pick the next one out of the 3 that are left. Which one would you like to cover next? Dino Thunder, Jungle Fury, or SPD?
Fuck it, let's do them in order. So Dino Thunder first.
Dino Thunder first? Okay. Well, Dino Thunder is definitely going in S because it's a really good season. It was an anniversary season, technically, without it intentionally being an anniversary season.
Well, I mean, we did have Tommy as the mentor, and I'm gonna say this, and I might get some hate for it, but I think Tommy works better as a mentor than he does as a ranger.
You know what? I can kind of agree with that. Yeah,
he's really good in the mentor role, and I'd honestly like to see him come back. Although it is funny to me that he kind of took Billy's role, and I think in a world where we weren't all simps for Tommy, as a fan base, it would have probably made more sense for Billy to take the role here as the mentor more so than Tommy, because Billy was the one who kind of figured out how the morphing grid worked and how all the technology worked, and even to some extent how the sorcery worked. So, although I wouldn't mind seeing a prequel comic for Dino Thunder that explains how like maybe Billy and Tommy got closer as they aged, and
Yeah.
maybe they sort of, because I would like to at least give Billy some of the credit in the sense that maybe Tommy took sort of the archaeological and the mythological angle, and Billy was sort of the technical guy. So um maybe Tommy went to Billy to build the Morphers. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
To build the Morphers and the Zords and all the technology and whatnot.
Yeah. I would definitely say Dino Thunder is one of the better ones. They have a really good cast of characters that grow over time, which is really good. Red Ranger was pretty solid.
Yeah.
Uh,
I like Trent best though. Out of all of them, I have to say Trent is my favorite.
Well, yeah, because basically he's kind of a mirror version of Tommy.
Well, not only that, but
because he's an evil ranger in a Dino season.
Well, yeah, but and also the connection between him and Mesagog and his father and that whole thing. And also, I one of the standout moments for me was when they were getting the battleizer out, the battleizer like Tyrannosaur shield there, and it was Trent who at this point did not like the Red Ranger at all, pretty much, who ended up having to basically sacrifice his own power, or at least a significant portion of his own power, to resurrect the battleizer shield that was like Triceratops themed. I can't
Connor. The actor's name is Connor, or the character name is Connor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Connor's really good because he starts off as like the typical jock. They took the concept of like Jason, except for they made him like what?
They actually
a douchebag.
Follow it through as in it, he's not. It's not like Zach and Slater from Saved by the Bell. It's actually how or at least some recognizable version of a jock would behave in this situation, especially when being paired up with a nerd like the Blue Ranger or even Trent and his kind of. Despite constantly wearing white, Trent always gave me goth vibes, and I don't know if that's just me or not. But despite constantly wearing white, he very much struck me as the goth ranger.
The Blue Ranger's character name was Ethan.
Yeah, I can't believe I can't believe I forgot their names because Dino, like I said, I got in right towards the end of Mystic Force and right towards the beginning of Dino Thunder. So I should remember these more because this is my season. But
yeah, Ethan and the whole entire team is really solid. And Ethan's typical. He's kind of typical nerd, but also gamer and whatnot.
Yeah, so. he has a little bit more dimension to him just because by this point pop culture had kind of conned on to the fact that actually the nerds have a point. They're not so outcast anymore because it turns out they're right about things. So vindication, motherfuckers. But
and Mesagog is terrifying as a villain, and I love the whole kind of Jekyll and Hyde thing they have going on because that makes him much more dimensional as a villain because that means that we want to save him because
Yeah, but also I'm 90% sure he'll eat our faces.
True, he would eat us if given the opportunity.
And I'm not even necessarily sure I can. I'm not even necessarily sure I can fault him for it because it's just his nature. But goddamn.
Yeah, and out of all the times that Tommy has appeared in other Power Rangers that wasn't directly linked with Mighty Morphin, this is my favorite time period for Tommy because I feel like he goes through a lot of character growth and development, and obviously he's already grown.
It made sense for him without turning him into a Gary Stu.
Yeah. They didn't make him super overpowered. Actually, they excommunicated him for a while on the show, sealing him in amber once he became a Black Ranger and preventing Tommy from even being used and the team having to work without him for a while, which was really good. I think probably because of contractual obligations, because I think also there were time points where Tommy was never out of the suit.
Yeah, and
Either
it did give us an extended look at what these teenagers with attitude, as Zordon put it, what these kids grow up into. Because imagine, and I don't necessarily know if I like playing this card, but imagine this played a little bit more straight, almost like it was in the Power/Rangers fan film from a couple years ago. Imagine you're in high school and you're a very type A personality, because most of the Rangers are very type A personalities, and you get basically drafted into a supernatural ancient war that involves sorceresses and aliens.
Yeah,
that's gonna have a massive impact on who you are and who you grow into. So it's nice actually, because we see Jason and Kimberly and some of the other ones every great now and again, but it's only ever like in passing, or it's only ever for 1 or 2 episodes. But with Tommy, because we got to see him as the mentor, we kind of got to see the lasting impact of, because his teenage years were basically taken away from him, and it turned him into a badass. But it also, and I liked that it also kind of touched on how much it cost him to be a general in this war of theirs, like, because there's a lot of episodes where he has to cope with the legacy of the Green Ranger, or even the legacy of the White and Red Rangers comes back to bite him in the ass at one point.
has this whole entire like battle with himself in one of the episodes where he's fighting the Green Ranger, the White Ranger, and the Red Ranger, respectively. Surprisingly, no Turbo Ranger, if I remember correctly, but he does fight the Red Zeo Ranger.
Yeah.
And he's basically battling his personal.
Yeah, I think that was just so that there wouldn't be 2 Reds, I think.
Probably. Or maybe they just didn't have the ability to add that suit. Maybe they didn't have it at the time, so they just took what they had. Dino Thunder, yeah, it did have an episode with a Sentai, and it was hilarious. That was really good. Actually, if I remember correctly, I think the Sentai does the same thing where they watched American Power Rangers. They basically took the same concept for the same episode, they just flipped it. And it's hilarious.
Fun.
Good times. I love that. That was just like, oh, look at this goofy Japanese show. So let's talk about Jungle Fury next, because I really like this season. And I'm saving SPD for last because I have reasons. But Jungle Fury is really solid. There are a lot of fans there are at least some fans who don't like this season for certain reasons.
I genuinely can't imagine why, because
from what I remember from some of the discussion I heard, keep in mind that this was at a time when Disney was toning down the violence.
Yeah, they were going the more like goofy, almost Ninja Storm route, and that is the thing. As much as I love Ninja Storm, and I do, it's very nostalgic for me, and it deserves to be. But and I mean we put it higher than like a lot of other ones. But I think Jungle Fury managed to strike the balance that Ninja Storm was trying to strike better.
Yeah. But yeah, it has definitely a better balance. And I think that it's because some people were disappointed because Geki Ranger is all about Kenpo, Kung Fu martial arts and whatnot. And there was a lot of actual legit cool Kung Fu fight scenes that was in the Sentai, but a lot of it was cut out for Jungle Fury, which is disappointing. However, this show does make up for that with really strong characters, really good characters.
Yeah.
A banger of an opening theme song, and a fantastic villain on top of that.
Yeah, Daishi is cool.
Daishi is cool, or should we say Jared? Is awesome. Well, not just Daishi, but the fact that he's Jared.
He's not as threatening as Mesogog, but he's definitely not someone you want to see coming at you in a dark alley.
I mean, he did have kind of a creeper face going on a few times.
Who
needs a mask when you kind of look like you're gonna murder somebody already?
He had resting, I swear to God, I'll fuck you up face.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me a little bit of William Dafoe because he's kind of like, he's scary without the mask, kind of thing going on.
Yeah, he's almost scarier when he's not wearing the outfit. It's like,
yep.
And he had that look that you look in his eyes and you immediately go, it's like the Ralph meme from The Simpsons. Haha, I'm in danger.
Let's see. Let's go. Let's type in Jared. Oops, I spelled it wrong. Camille was also cool, but considering
that, I mean, none of the villains weren't cool. It's just that it was all principally focused on Daichi and Jared and
I was hoping to see one of his more scarier faces when I searched up his.
Yeah, the I will fuck you up face.
Yeah, this is kind of the scariest I can find. That probably very few people can see. But yeah, really good villain overall. I really like him. What was her name? Camille. Also really good. I liked her as a villain too.
She actually reminded me a little bit of Rita, to be honest with you. Like the relationship between Daishi or Jared and Camille sort of reminded me of the relationship between Zed and Rita, almost.
Yeah, a little bit, except for that the Daishi was a bit more abusive. I mean, Zed's pretty abusive, but
I think if Zed hadn't been retconned, if they hadn't softened Zed up, it probably would have been more.
Yeah, it probably would have been a more intense and not so pleasant relationship. But the fact that she's like, you know what, Daishi, you look great. Flirting with him in a sense, but she's like, oh dear God, I better be very careful with what I'm about to do, because if I go too far, he's probably going to murder me.
It also kind of reminded me of in later seasons of Shaolin Showdown when Wuya and Chase Young were tag teaming.
Yeah. I think I vaguely remember that. It's been
I might have just made a reference that most people don't get. I remember, have fond memories of Shaolin Showdown, but
so do I. I remember it. It's just been ages since I watched it. I do remember really liking the show though, because it was really good.
I will admit that when Chase Young got introduced and they kind of nerfed Wuya, I was not as much of a fan of the show after that, because I like Wuya being the badass sorceress that she is, and I didn't like him basically nerfing her, and not only nerfing her but taking her magic away. I think it would have been more intense for him to let her keep her world-changing magic and just not care because he's more powerful than she is. That would have been more interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, Jungle Fury had an overall really good cast. I really loved Theo, Lily, and RJ, and Casey. There's just overall really good group of characters.
Yeah, the whole thing is a very and on paper, I remember when Jungle Fury first came out, when I watched the pilot, I was like, this surely can't work. Like, they're going way too goofy, way too over the top here. Like the pizza parlor thing, I rolled my eyes at that the first time I saw it, and then when RJ started using like day-to-day pizza shop stuff in like a Mr. Miyagi sense of like teaching them things, I was like, okay, I'm on board. Well done. You could. Because they managed to basically rip off the Karate Kid without actually ripping off the Karate Kid. And I was like, that's a very hard thread to thread there. So well done, guys.
I now I'm kind of remembering. I think one of the other disappointments that some people had with Jungle Fury was Casey. Because most Red Rangers are expected to be like not only the leader, but the strongest member of the team.
The main character, effectively. The audience POV.
Yeah, and Casey is a cub. he's in training. He's not even a full-fledged student at this point. He's barely an apprentice. He barely.
But I think that was part of, or at least part of what made it work, because he felt shortchanged because the world basically ended right before he got to ascend.
Yeah, I think
so
it's
he
more
spent a
of
bunch of time trying to prove himself.
Yeah, I think it's more along the line of him being a character that has to grow into being the hero that he's going to be over time. It's that he has a lot to learn. He's behind everybody else, and that's okay.
He has a Gary Stu's level of entitlement, and the difference between him and other characters who would otherwise be Mary Sue's is when he acts like a Gary Stu, the universe goes nah, not so fast. Yeah. But when other characters become Gary Stu's, it's just like, yes, sir, may I have another? And it's just like,
yeah.
I think for the sake of the character, it was better that the universe was like, you entitled little shit, you think you're hot shit, let me show you just how out of your depth you are.
And at least that happened eventually, and it especially kind of showed that kind of behavior with him when RJ became a ranger and RJ took the spotlight. He got jealous.
It's the difference between arrogance and confidence, basically.
Yeah,
is the thing.
But it's him like humbling himself and growing as a person and becoming better every single time, and that's one of the reasons why. While I wouldn't make him the leader of a team of Rangers, if I was picking a dream team, he would not be on. He would not. I'd maybe put him in the team, but I would not put him as the leader because
it's not his thing.
I mean, even at the end, he's still relatively young and he's still learning. So
he was thrust into a situation that he wasn't ready for, and he did his best to adapt to it, but it still wasn't the role he should have had.
He still needed everybody else's strength to help get him through it.
There's a reason why before Jaren got possessed by Daishi, they were really thinking he was supposed to be the leader of the
Jungle Fury Rangers, yeah. But he had issues of his own. He had arrogance, and he wasn't ready. He wasn't mature. Similar to Casey.
But at least with him, it was more. Again, it's a little bit like the difference between Azula and Zuko. Like, one of them has to work really hard just to get by. One of them has flawless skill and knows it. So
yeah. Overall, Jungle Fury is a really solid season. I love pretty much everything about it. I also really like the fact that the Morpher is the most unique out of all of these Morphers. It's a freaking pair of sunglasses.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things that if you told it to me on paper, I would wonder what you were smoking. But somehow
it works. They make it work. Although it is kind of funny. Out of all of the other Sentais and whatnot, Geki Ranger is also unique in the morphing department too, considering its gloves. The gloves that they wear that seem to stand out a whole lot while you look at them. Right. It's their Morpher and Geki Ranger. They don't use sunglasses; they use gloves. I'm like,
interesting, very interesting.
That's different.
Compare that to the compare Jungle Fury's sunglasses to the freaking magic cell phones in Mystic Force. I will take the sunglasses every single time.
I will too, because I thought that the magic cell phone was a bit weird.
God, why couldn't they have just been wands? I ask you.
I mean, I think that even in the Sentai, they're magic cell phones, but the one thing that's disappointing is that with Samurai, they changed the Morpher from being calligraphy brushes to cell phones. They're still cell phones, but at least that the other ones had a calligraphy brush attached to it.
Honestly, it would have been more interesting if they had kept the brush thing, because using magic by drawing runes or glyphs and whatnot,
It
in
is
the
how they
air
morph.
would have been interesting. That would,
It is it's how they morph. They have to paint the symbol for the element that they represent.
Mm-hmm.
So the Red Ranger paints a calligraphy sign for the kanji for fire. I think blue is water, yellow is earth, green is forest or wind. I can't remember.
Right.
But basically, everybody's based on an element, and that element appears on their helmets as well. So
right, which is where the elemental stuff comes in with the Mystic Force Rangers.
Yeah. But
yeah, that would have it would have almost reminded me a little bit of Jackie Chan Adventures, which speaking of kid shows that were better than they had any right to be, Jackie Chan Adventures.
Yes, good stuff. One more thing, or bad day. There, everybody gets my impressions. Okay.
Yes.
Wands would stand out too much. We're not at a Harry Potter convention. Yeah, fair point.
But even if the wands got turned into brushes, or they had to literally draw the glyphs in the air in order to morph and in order to access their powers, it would have been interesting. And also, it reminds me of a old, I believe it's Chinese, but it might be Japanese legend about a monk who figures out a recipe for paint that allows him to, or ink that allows him to draw things, and then those things become real.
Yeah, which is
I can't remember the exact parameters of the legend, but at one point, he figures out that he can basically draw anything with this brush and it will become real. That's always been a really interesting concept for me.
Yeah,
so that could have been cool.
I'm right with you, Soul of the Dragon. I stand Casey too. He's awesome. I really like him. He is one of my favorite Power Ranger characters.
He goes through a really interesting and compelling arc. So yeah, he's good.
Yeah, and what's even that was probably the one thing we didn't talk about with Megaforce, the cameo he took part in. While the episode is not fantastic, it was nice to see him again. So
yeah,
there, Megaforce. I gave you something positive. You brought back a Ranger that I actually genuinely give a damn about.
Yeah, it's just too bad, so sad that none of them are you. So bye.
But anyway, and by the time you see him in the show, he's clearly now a master. Now he's
he's been developing off screen. Yay!
Yep, which is cool. Give me a comic book with him and the rest of the team coming back. I'd read the crap out of that one. Okay, last Power Rangers team to discuss and talk about is SPD. Time Force, why will you not move away? There, go there. I'm kind of just organizing them in the level I think is best. And to me, SPD is probably, at least at this current junction, my all-time favorite Power Ranger season. For many reasons.
I will say I didn't like it as much as I liked Dino Thunder, but that being said, Dino Thunder was my season, so that's
it's the season
why
you started with, so that's probably why. Now, I'll make my case for SPD because, in my personal opinion, it has some of the best character growth and development, has one of the best villains in Power Rangers. It's got a fantastic mentor that I love, I think, even more than I love RJ, which
Doggy's
is
cool. Yeah, Doggy is the goodest of boys.
He's a good boy. Well, it's not just that he's a good mentor, he's a fantastic mentor.
Yeah,
it's the fact that he's teaching.
He has the wisdom of a character like Zordon, but he also has the relatability of a character like RJ.
Yeah. Well, the thing with RJ's philosophy is very for teaching his students is a bit unorthodox.
Yeah, he's very much if the dude from The Big Lebowski became a kung fu master. If the dude from The Big Lebowski was also Mr. Miyagi from Karate Kid, that's basically.
Well, you mentioned the Mr. Miyagi thing, and Mr. Miyagi was always unorthodox with his training, and RJ's pretty much the same as that. He's unorthodox, whereas Doggy is more strict and to the point.
Yeah,
but I think that's the reason
he's
why,
a
because
police
he's
chief,
more,
basically.
huh?
He's a police chief, basically. That's what
Well,
he's
I mean,
supposed to kind
yes,
of be.
he is a police chief, pretty much. He is the
by
guy
the
in
book.
charge of the base and whatnot, and that makes him more of an authority figure. Whereas RJ tends to be more lazy in some respects. That's not a negative against RJ, because I do love his
Right.
character, but RJ is not a mature
he's the
mentor.
He's the mentor that you can kind of see as a friend and older brother.
Yeah.
Doggy Kruger is the mentor.
This is
who
your
you
mentor,
respect.
mentor. This is the mentor you respect, and when he says stand at attention, you listen to him. RJ's more like, he would probably be more of your best friend. That he'd rather probably be your best friend than be your kung fu sensei.
If we're talking like in terms of them being teachers or college professors, RJ is the cool, fun college professor who lets you have really creative assignments and like teaches class outside a lot. Doggy is the professor that is hard on you because he can see the potential in you and he wants you to do better. And when you look back on your college years, you like a professor like RJ more at the time because he's easier on you, but you end up respecting and molding yourself kind of after a character like Doggy Kruger more because he imparted more like wisdom to you in the process.
Yeah, because throughout the process of SPD, we went through the whole thing of they're recruiting Team B, or they're picking members for Team B, and you've got Sky, Bridge, and what was the Pink Ranger's name? Hold on. I need help with this because I forgot. SPD.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head either.
I'm struggling a bit. Sydney. What's her name? Sydney.
Yeah.
But what was this? Cindy, Jack, Z, Bridge, Sky. The thing is that Sky thinks that obviously he believes he should be the Red Ranger of Team B because he's the most disciplined. He's got the most experience. And, he's obviously got some arrogance to him.
Yeah.
And that's why Doggy doesn't put him as the Red Ranger. Because he's like, you're not mature enough.
Those who want power are usually the least good stewards of it.
He says that basically he knows that Sky is immature and he's not ready for it. He wants it. He's hungry for it, and it's clear he wants it. But he's not ready for it. He's not ready for that responsibility. And, well, I wouldn't say he hasn't earned it.
He doesn't know what it entails.
Yeah, the responsibilities it entails, the stakes that'll be involved, and the people who will rely on you. He's not mature enough yet to take on the role. Because he thinks it's because he's got all the top marks. Clearly, he'll know if he
wants the glory, he wants the power, he wants the authority, yada yada yada.
I wouldn't say he wants the glory and whatnot. It's because his father was a Red Ranger too, and he wants to be just like his father. It's not like him being morally superior or anything. He just has the high marks. He's worked for it, and he believes he's earned it. But he's lacking some of the maturity.
It's the Hermione Granger effect, basically.
Okay.
I did the best in school, so I should get the best job. Well, unfortunately, that's not how this works.
Yeah. So Sky as a character is fantastic. I really like Sky. Jack is really good too, because Jack is like clearly the guy who doesn't want to be there at all. Because both him and Z are criminals that get caught. They don't want to be good people. They are good people. They're kind of like Robin Hoods in a way.
Good people in a bad situation.
Yeah.
who have,
but they
who have very
don't.
much adjusted to the bad situation they find themselves in.
Yeah. But Jack clearly doesn't want responsibility, and neither does Z, except for the responsibility they have towards helping others. But Jack is lazy, and it shows in the first few episodes. He's lazy, doesn't do training, doesn't do anything, but he is highly skilled and talented. So basically, he's a very gifted individual who's obviously has a lot more potential, but the issue is that he's lazy.
Some are born great, some become great, and some have greatness thrust upon them.
Yeah. I would say he's kind of falls into the category of born great because he seems to have not done a whole lot of like training or anything. He just seems to be like naturally gifted
Right,
at
but
doing things.
I'd put him in the last category because, like you said, he doesn't want to be here. It's the
I
world
think
kind
he's
of just like you
yeah.
access your full potential here.
Yeah, I think he's
How
kind of a
much do we
mix
need to beat
between
this guy down before he accesses his full potential?
yeah. So that makes him really good. Z's a really good character too. I really like Z. The Pink Ranger is probably the weakest out of all of them. She's just typical Pink Ranger who's obsessed with her appearance
Yeah,
and whatnot.
I barely remembered her, to be honest. She's the weakest
She
part of
is the
this.
out of everybody in the show, she is the weakest out of all of them, which is a shame. But she's the only weak point for the entire show that I can think of off the top of my head. Because everything else is pretty stellar and fantastic. I'm trying to think, like, is there anything else I can add? Grum is fantastic. You know, we had Grum as a character.
And of course, the little girl he basically has to cater to all the freaking time, which is also funny.
Oh, the little girl. Yeah. That was funny. Actually, it's actually the most interesting thing about SPD compared to its Sentai counterpart, Deca Ranger, because Deca Ranger doesn't technically have a main villain, and SPD does. They actually managed
that would kind of explain why, as badass as Grum is, we don't really see him all that much, do we?
No, not in. You notice? Oh, what's his second in command? It's that other guy. I'm drawing a blank. I can't remember his name, or what he is. Unfortunately, he's that. I think he looks like a robot of some sort, or something of that nature.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I don't know what his name is.
Let me do Power Rangers villains. Okay, let's go villains. That's Emperor Grum. That's not who I want. Let's see, Power Rangers SPD. Where are the bad guys? SPD Shadow Ranger, Omega Ranger. Omega Ranger is another disappointment and low point of the show. Is Sam. Allies. Oh yeah, Boom. The guy who plays Bridge is Boom. Villains: Emperor Grum, Mora or Morgana, Broodwing. That's the guy I was thinking. Broodwing. Not a robot. He's got a bat motif. Yeah, this guy, Broodwing. He seems to be the main villain for the Sentai, or at least the one that keeps appearing. Because basically he like finds a monster, recruits them, and then has everybody attack him. But there's no central villain. He's just, a bad guy in the show. So he's not really important or necessary. But overall, I think SPD is the best Power Ranger season we've ever gotten. To me, anyway, it's my all-time favorite. I just love so much about it.
I can see where you're coming from. I hesitate to give it the best ever moniker, but then again, I'm having a hard time saying what I would put in its place. So yeah, it definitely deserves to be here.
Yeah, well, I mean, we didn't even kind of cover how evil Grum is. The fact that he massacred Doggy's entire family, and that does help to create this kind of like um not it wouldn't be a rivalry. It would be more of a kind of revenge type thing going on where it's the only time in the show where you see
Yeah,
Doggy not in
a
control.
personal connection.
Yeah, it's the one time in the show when he's actually face to face with Grum. It's one of the few times where he does not have his composure. Because all the time he's like straight laced and everything else. But when Grum is involving like Doggy's family or his home planet, it's like it gets personal and it shows because he loses his composure and he actually genuinely gets mad at Grum
Yep.
for doing so and wanting to actually flat out beat the ever loving crap out of him. And the fact that he even gets to do that is freaking fantastic, by the way. Because I got to be honest, Doggy's probably my favorite character in SPD. I love the Shadow Ranger a whole lot. So there's that. Not to say that I don't have any others that are favorites, because personally, also Sky is my second favorite character in the show. I mean, I like Blue Rangers, but he's probably my all-time favorite Blue Ranger of all time. There's some pretty stiff competition for that too, because I like Theo a lot from Jungle Fury, who we didn't really talk about very much, but I do like Theo. But I think Sky is probably my all-time favorite Blue Ranger. I don't think that there's even a competition. I mean, it kind of, I don't know. Oh yeah, my cam isn't going to work. Never mind. I was going to show the fact that I have the Lightning Collection figure for Doggy. I have the Shadow Ranger figure.
Aw.
And yeah, that's how much I like him. It's like, I saw that on the Walmart shelf. I'm like, this is mine. I'm buying it now because he's that goddamn cool. He's my favorite Ranger, or one of my all-time favorite Rangers, and
Good dog.
Definitely my favorite in SPD. But it makes me think I should probably get the rest of the team too, actually, because I'm like, I feel like Doggy needs some friends. But overall, yeah, SPD is my all-time favorite. I definitely think it's one of the best seasons out there. If you've not watched Power Rangers, I would probably recommend it, because I think, considering that it is relatively removed from most of the other Ranger seasons and series, that it's pretty easily
very
accessible
much
to.
its own thing there.
Yeah. There is a crossover or team up episode or two, but with Dino Thunder, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it would make sense because it was the one that came right after Dino Thunder.
Yeah. But yeah,
it went Ninja Storm, then Dino Thunder, then SPD.
Yeah, then SPD. Very good stuff. So that's pretty much it for all the mainline Power Ranger shows as of now. Now I get to rant about Dino Fury and why I've got really freaking bored.
Why it makes you Dino furious?
Yes, Badoom-ching. It does make me Dino furious because it is so boring. I don't know what happened. We went from a stellar season in Beast Morphers, and then you take Ryu Soldier and decide to literally crap the bed. I don't know how you could do that, because Ryu Soldier had some really cool concepts and ideas you could have played around with a bit, but you chose not to. You decided to make another generic bit, by the books Power Ranger story. Like, oh, hey, look, they're kids and teenagers, and the bad guys are just monsters of the week again with special abilities that cause a problem that the Rangers need to solve.
But why?
I don't know. At least there felt like there were some more stakes and a little bit more interesting things going on with Beast Morphers, because hey, we had Roxy and Blaze as antagonists. Because while they weren't the original Roxy and Blaze, they were digital versions of them. They made the show interesting and compelling
it
when
was
they were on
a very
screen.
interesting dynamic there going.
So you took the concept and idea of some really interesting villains, that being you call him Boom Tower in this series. I don't remember his name in Ryu Soldier, but basically this dude who looks like a rook chess piece. He has towers and he shoots cannons, who is reviving old ancient monsters that feed off of humans' hopes, dreams, and what have you. And you don't take advantage of that. You do not take advantage of that at all. It's just like, oh, it's just a monster. It attacks the city. The Rangers fight it. That's it. You could have played around with this. This was an opportunity.
You have a villain who literally weaponizes ancient primordial fear, and yet you do
nothing with it. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You did dick all with it. I mean, you brought in Void Knight. You took this character by the name of Void Knight, who's the main bad guy, who doesn't do a whole lot. He's just kind of there. He's not even very proactive. He barely fights the Rangers, probably because of Sentai. He barely fights the Rangers in that. So you didn't film anything original with him, and you make him basically Boom Tower the subordinate, along with the mushroom guy, Mucus. Not all that interesting or compelling at all. I mean, I like the idea of Void Knight because they have this whole thing where he has like this daughter or some family member frozen in some form of stasis, and he's collecting the Sporax beasts, their spores, in order to gain energy to revive this person. I'm like, okay, that's kind of interesting. It's not wholly original, but we can maybe work with it. But he's not interesting. Aside from this one element, he has nothing else going for him. Does he fight the Rangers all the time? No. Does he just sends monsters out, and the monsters, he just seems to be sending the monsters out so that they can get killed by the Rangers, so then he can take the spore and use it as energy. That's it. That's the plan. And yeah,
there seems to be a lot more interesting things you could do with this.
Yeah, I think that that particular building block works. I like that idea. Like, obviously, he's somebody who deeply cares about someone, and he's sacrificing his own mental state, his own well-being. He's even risking other human lives to save the one person that matters most to him. And I like that, but the emotion's not quite there. Probably doesn't help the fact that
I've only actually seen clips of Dino Fury. I haven't watched it yet.
I don't know if I'd even recommend watching.
I'm beginning to get the gist of the clips I saw were accurate, and therefore this show is not worth watching.
And they had the whole thing with the main Red Ranger being from another planet. His name is Zato. Cool, I guess. I don't know why there's an alien ranger on a team where the Ryu Soldier team aren't freaking aliens. Why is Zato an alien? I don't understand why he has to be. And the
Power Rangers theme this time around is dinosaurs, so why?
Yeah, why does he have to be an alien? Because the Ryu Soldiers were like, oh, we're ancient warriors, kind of playing off the original Zyuohger team, which like they were ancient soldiers that were revived to fight, Beldora, Rita for us here, Baka Gaijin, Yeah. But you make him an alien. Why? What does that serve? You could have just made him an ancient warrior that was frozen in time. It's not like you haven't done this before.
Yeah, but you see, that would require effort and thinking about it for more than 5 seconds. And
and also there's the fact that he lost his entire team too. So there was another team of Dino Fury Rangers that he lost, and it's almost rarely ever brought up until the Gold Ranger shows up, whose name is, what's his name? Ion, I think. Good name, by the way. What the hell? It's not even at least Zato is moderately interesting of a name. Ion is just like, why? Although I will say, out of all the Rangers, he's at least the most entertaining to watch. But that's not by much. But that's just because he's a hotshot. But it was his introduction. Like, he's like, "Oh, hey Zato, how's it going? Oh, by the way, I'm still not over the fact that we lost our entire team because we used the wrong type of Megazord combination that was too powerful that we couldn't manage, and we didn't destroy we didn't finish the Sporax beasts off. So I'm still mad at you. We lost our friends, but that's it. It's like it happens for like 1 to 2 episodes, and then it's forgotten. Like, do you guys even care about your old team? Where are they? Are they dead? Are they not dead? Are they just lost to the morphing grid indefinitely? We don't know. They seem to just disappear. That's it. They disappeared. Yippee. So there's no real remorse.
Will we be addressing any of this at any point? No, we will not. Why do you ask?
Well, I mean, maybe in season 2 we can dive into it, but they don't seem to be that invested. They have like a flashback scene where Ion and Zato are having the memory of that Zord battle, and they do eventually, meet, quote unquote, meet with their former teammates who are just ghosts. They're not even ghosts. They're a being of untold energy is using them as a protection to protect itself on another planet, because it's the last living sentient being on the planet, and it's protecting the 2 of the Zords. It's kind of interesting, but the teammates don't say anything or do anything. They're just repeating the same lines that they were saying in the dream, like, "It's too powerful. We can't do this," or whatever. And it's like they're just repeating it. It's like there doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of emotional weight to it. And Zato and Ion don't even feel like they're emotionally invested in these characters all that much. Like, they're just saying, "Oh, it's really weird. Why are they repeating the same things over and over again?" And then they realize it's like, "Oh, they're repeating our nightmare. Ah, okay, cool." Instead of there being some form of like general bond of like, "Oh, hey, these people were important to us." They just don't seem important at all. Also, the fact that Zato is responsible for the Sporax beasts becoming as powerful as they are is also swept under the rug, because it was only brought up by Ion once, and he...
Okay, so what I'm getting is, this is bring things up we will never address again, the series.
It doesn't feel like it brings it up at all. The rest of the team is not really very likable or enjoyable to watch. I don't care for them at all. Zato and Ion have the most compelling and most interesting relationship, and it still is not enough, because pretty much it lasts for like about an episode or 2, and then everyone's just, "Oh, hey, we're a team. Yippee." No forms of conflict that's going to last for a few more episodes while we work through this shit. Nope.
Address your implication, show, goddammit.
Yeah, because, what is it? Pink Ranger's into paranormal stuff, which is what gets her to go to a place called Dino Hinge in the local area to...
Okay, you have my attention. Do they do anything with this subplot?
I think there's at least 1 or 2 episodes or at least one episode where she focuses on it a bit. They focus on it a bit. It's an interesting dynamic, because they have the Blue Ranger who is all about the science. And so you have one person who believes in the paranormal and one who believes in the science. And they have a kind of conflicting relationship of,
I mean, to be fair, random science dudes. You live in the Power Rangers universe, and in the Power Rangers universe, there was literally a ancient sorceress trapped in a base on the moon at one point.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
wrong,
Not
objectively, but never.
not I mean
It's kind of like when in I think it was Batman 50. Tom King said that Batman was an atheist, and everyone went, "You literally have met Wonder Woman and Doctor Fate, and literally, like, you've literally met the Greek gods at the very least. Like, what the actual fuck?
yeah. Yeah, what the
It
hell?
is, it is nigh impossible for you to be. It is nigh impossible for you to be like this in this universe. You
Yeah,
definitively know that these things exist. God damn it!
yeah, I was like, wait, what? Okay, really weird. He's more into science and tech, and and she's into paranormal stuff. I kind of like her relationship with her grandfather because apparently her parents either died or disappeared when she was very young, so she was raised by her grandpa, who's also into paranormal stuff. I kind of dig him. He's kind of a fun character to have around. There's a few episodes actually dedicated to him more so than the Rangers. There is one where he goes on a date with the curator of a museum, which is cute as all hell. And it's one of the few episodes that I vividly remember and actually genuinely liked because she's trying to make him into somebody that he's not, because he's like this, grungy, maintenance dude. He doesn't dress up or anything. He's full of grease and,
Right. Mm-hmm.
he's a working stiff kind of guy,
Yeah.
salt of the earth kind of dude who's into paranormal stuff a bit and ancient stuff and legends and whatnot, which obviously he instilled into her at a young age.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like a person after my own heart kind of thing.
Yeah. I genuinely liked his character. The date was adorable, especially when they were just hitting it off like just a couple of old couple, like an old couple normally would.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like that's like only one slight plus on a sea of mediocrity.
Yeah, we've done this plot before, the magic v science thing, and it not only is it one of Power Rangers' oldest canards because you had, Zordon was obviously very tech focused, even though he was kind of a magical entity himself, but he was fighting Rita, who was very much sorceress. So like, it's a thing we've done before in Power Rangers, and it's a thing that's been done better in literally every other time we've ever touched on it, pretty much.
Yeah. I can stop sharing. I don't need to do that anymore.
Right.
Because we got the tier list. We're done with that. And we're talking about Dino Fury. So, but yeah, it's really disappointing because there was some good potential here that was just, I think, missed. That could change in season 2. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe it'll upswing it to a more like, it's actually better now. The fact they brought Lord Zed in for an episode, I could not care less.
Wait, quoi?
They brought Zed in. He was being controlled by some necromancer type monster who could revive dead monsters.
And yet this was never a major plot thread at all. But
it was focused on for about an episode. Apparently he found Zed and he put a control collar on him to have him, under his command. And then, the Rangers, I think it's the Blue Ranger. I can't remember his name. Because the rest of the Ranger team is like I think they're put to sleep, and he's the only one that's still up, and he has to find a way to beat Zed. He's like, and the monsters who the necromancer monster keeps on reviving. So he's like, how am I gonna win? How am I gonna fight? How am I gonna fight all these guys by myself?
Okay, how do you bring back a Lord Zed and it doesn't become a main, like at least an extended arc?
Yeah, I think that they're building up for him to replacing Void Knight in season 2. I think that's the plan.
I I mean, for the love of God.
Because by the end of the season, Void Knight is kind of MIA or kind of presumed to be dead, though I doubt he is. He'll probably come back, but along with his daughter or whoever she is.
I
Um,
just
but Zed has one appearance. He gets the control collar knocked off him, and he beats the ever living crap out of the monster that tried to enslave him.
You
Which
don't fucking
obvious.
say. It's almost like you shouldn't one off
By the way,
Emperor Zed. God damn it.
I will point out, Zed is way more ripped now than he's ever been before. That's the one thing I will say. It's
Which
like
is
he
saying
got
something.
jacked. He got jacked. It's like, what happened? You used to be a little bit more lean for the kill, my dude. Now you're ripped.
Yeah, I mean, he was always pretty intimidating, but god damn it now.
He was tall, intimidating, and slightly large. Yeah, but I'm talking like the suit actor they have for him now must be much bigger because he is huge. Let me see if I can find a picture of him. Hold on. Lord Zed Dino Fury. Let's see if we can find an image of him. So I can show you kind of like how kind of jacked he looks now compared to his older version. Hold on a second. Let me share this real quick. Share the screen. Share the screen. Okay, here we go. So, yeah, like this image right here kind of shows him. He looks a little bit beefier than he did before. I mean, he was always kind of beefy, but this is like he hit the gym a bit more. Just a tidbit more. Like
resurrection does a body good, I guess.
Yeah, because like okay, let's find a picture of Zed from like the older Ranger season. Yeah, because like we take this Lord Zed, he looks a little bit leaner, not quite as big, still imposing, obviously, because he's a dude who doesn't have skin for gosh sake, and a brain hanging out. He's messed up beyond belief. But yeah, but him now, he hit the gym. Why did he hit the gym? I don't know, but he hit the gym at some point.
He must have gone to the Hiffle in his afterlife.
Yeah, I mean, he got big. This is big Zed.
he must have got those two personal trainer beings from DBZ Abridged.
Yeah, something like that. A resurrected Zed would have taken over, not be a one-off villain. I agree with you, Dragon.
This is what I'm saying. Like, number one, even resurrecting Zed is stupid for a one-off villain to do because you're going to, he's going to own your ass in 5 seconds. But also,
well, I'm sure you kind of noticed with the pictures and whatnot, he's missing something, isn't he?
His staff.
His staff, which has a lot of his power, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, that's fair. Although when he was introduced in Mighty Morphin, it literally apparently is a snake that he turns into a staff.
Yeah, but what I'm gonna go over and say is that he does point out the fact that he doesn't have a staff. He says, "If I had my staff, you would all be dead now," and then he leaves. He's we're finished for now, but it's like, if I had my staff, this would be a different outcome right now.
When I get my things, goddammit.
Yeah, basically, it's like, when I come back here and I have, not only am I roided out to the nines and I have my staff back, you guys are in big trouble. Which, if that happens in season 2 and he shows up, and, he beats the tar out of the Rangers, I'm gonna be like, okay.
I mean, there was a lot of who I think it was it Soul of the Dragon, or was it
One of
nerdy
the
Texan
Power Rangers.
accountant who said Rancic was the only villain the Rangers never defeated. But that being said,
Zed
after
also
Zed
kind
was
of
introduced, he managed to destroy the entire command center and the power coins. So if Zordon and Alpha hadn't planned ahead for this with contingencies, um, it would have been done then and there. So it's not like Zed is no pushover. And let's also be honest, most of the reason why Zed and Rita fucked off was because they had their own lives to live. They didn't want to waste their entire rest of their lives dealing with Ranger bullshit. So
yeah, they got sick
it's
of it.
not
Basically,
even I am defeated. It's I give up because you all are so annoying. Goodbye.
yeah, they kind of just like, you know what? We've been doing this shit for too long. Let's just honeymoon off to another planet in an RV with a couple of our henchmen and just, just have a good old time. Just chill out. It's like, who needs
I
to
mean,
fight the Rangers?
good for them. I mean, it appeared to work
Go
out
on
better
and
for them than it did for
go on
the
and
Master
extend.
and the. It worked out better for them than 90% of the other villains who actually
Yeah,
managed to stick around longer. So
yeah. So yeah, that was a disappointment to bring Zed in just for that one thing. I mean, obviously we're building up to something, but I
yeah.
think it was too early because there were several episodes
If they bring
after.
him back as the villain and Lord Zed gets to have another go around, then I mean honestly at that point all will be forgiven. Like if you give
Yeah.
me if you give me a whole other season of Lord Zed at and what's more, they don't have to make him quite as goofy now because standards have changed. So if they want to give us, you know, Lord Zed as he would have been
A
had the
more
potion not changed
serious.
his personality, that
Yeah.
would have yeah.
I guess one of the going theories for the fans is that this is an alternate universe version of Zed because everyone's wondering. It's like, wait, wasn't he purified by Zordon's energy along with Rita and everybody else? So it's like, how is he still a bad guy at this
Well,
point in junction?
my thinking is probably the resurrection was probably an evil resurrection, so it brought back his
Well, and
evil
that's the one thing
tendencies.
because they did this also with Beast Morphers, where like, oh hey, let's bring back an old villain, and they recommended Zed as one of the villains to bring back, but they said, you want to know what? No, don't do that because he'll take over and he'll make our lives a living hell. And
Yeah,
Vengeance is like, no, I'm in charge here. I'm not gonna let someone else come in and take
yeah.
over.
Like even Vengex was like, I
And even they
I
referenced the
may
fact
be an
that
apocalyptic AI, but I know my place, and my place is at the feet of being like Lord Zed. So nope.
but also it's the same fact of that they even mentioned the fact that some of these villains were purified. I think they even mentioned that Zed was purified. So he's not
Okay,
even a
so yeah,
villain anymore.
they
So I'm
must be
like,
building up for something. I hope it's not an alternate universe. I hope it is just like the magic of the resurrection or whatever that turns back
yeah,
evil. But
maybe that would
I
also explain his
yeah,
roided appearance now.
yeah. Honestly, honestly I want a season of Lord Zed as he would have been if they hadn't gotten spooked and kiddified him for Mighty Morphin season 2. So
Yeah.
yeah, Lord Zed is the villain again would be cool.
Yeah. Considering that now that Void Knight is pretty much MIA, there could be some
And
Lord Zed shenanigans.
it'd be nice also because they could easily connect this back to Dino Thunder, and then it would make sense
Yeah.
why it's called Dino Fury.
Yeah.
Because
Maybe.
if they got Tommy's actor back again, you could have
Yeah.
him come in and guest star at some point.
Yeah.
Continuity win. Like there's a lot of ways they could fix this, and I hope they do because so far they have done like 5 or 6 things that you've told me about, and they have amounted to
Oh.
nothing and insults.
Oh boy, there are a few other things that I could point out, like the fact that the other Rangers don't really do a whole lot. The Black Ranger is a musician. I mean, that's kind of cool. And the Green
Okay.
Ranger, him and the Green Ranger are siblings, so it's him and his sister being siblings, though it's
Okay.
pretty deadpan wise their chemistry. Doesn't really feel like they really mesh well as actors. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe I'm being a bit too harsh.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm not really convinced that they're siblings all that often because the dialogue just doesn't work for their characters, which is a darn shame because they are based off of the Ryu Soldier brothers, which were green and black, and they were very different from the three other Rangers before when they meet up, because they're all like, oh, we're going to destroy these monsters, but in order to do so, we have to kill the people.
Right.
You know, it's like, it's the only way. We have to stop the monsters from growing and whatnot. So they're like, we're going to kill them. We're going to kill the people. It's like, it's the only way to do it. Maybe that's why they avoided doing that, because that may have actually been a plot that they had to touch on. But
yeah,
they could have avoided that, but still used the whole thing of, oh, hey, the monsters are feeding off of people. They're feeding off their hopes, their dreams, their aspirations, their fears, whatever.
Lots of material for this, but they're not using it.
No, just the monster has a special ability. Well, gotta find a way to beat the monster's special ability. Yay!
I haven't seen that before, except for the last 20 times.
Oh, I'm trying to remember the name of the other villain. There's another villain that replaces Boom Tower, and he's more of a mischief maker. I will say that he's fun to have around as a character. He's not bad. If you like the more kind of like magician, because he is kind of like a magician, you know, kind of the whole now you see me, now you don't kind of thing going on. And from what I remember, from what I've heard from people who've actually watched Rest of Ryu Soldier, they really liked him as a villain because he's creative and unique. Aside from the Boom Tower equivalent, who's just basically a bruiser who just wants to beat the ever-living crap out of everybody.
Destroy things because destruction. Anyway, it's almost 11 here, so shall we wrap it up? Because I still haven't eaten anything today. So
the only thing I was going to point out is that it might be something that might get pointed out in the future. There's that whole controversy with the Green Ranger, the fact that they gave her a skirt just to tear off, which was really weird. I don't know what you guys were trying to prove with that, because...
What?
Yeah, they tried to make a whole thing out of that, and some of the fan base either got mad or they started having conversations over it. I think it was pretty much a nothing burger to begin with. I don't even know why they gave it to her.
Confused. Dalton is confused.
I mean, there have been tons of Rangers who were originally performed by male characters for the Sentai and were female characters for the American version. So I don't know why anybody gave a damn about why they even gave her a skirt in the first place. I'm like, why? Nobody cared about it before. Why are we caring now all of a sudden? Give her a skirt just so she could tear it off and prove that she's a strong, independent woman who don't need no skirt. This has not been
a problem in all the years we've done this, and it's been since 1993, which is 2 years before I was born. Thanks.
Yeah, there's the whole thing of she's a strong, independent Ranger who don't need no skirt. I'm like, okay, cool, I guess.
They've been literally doing this since the 90s, and they did it better.
Yeah,
so I don't want to get political, but methinks maybe some third wave feminism might be accountable for this. But
a little bit, because they also decided to make her a lesbian for whatever reasons. Yeah, I was all like, oh, okay. Why is this important? I mean, she doesn't have much of a character to begin with. This isn't helping.
Again, I've made known my preferences when it comes to revealing a character to have an alternate sexuality than the biological standard. And I can say this because I actually am bisexual. But if you're going to introduce a character having an alternate sexuality, make it so that they have a romance subplot. Like, if you're going to focus so much on the character's preferences, then make a romance subplot, goddammit. Don't just have them be that way for reasons.
It's Dino Fury, nerdy Texan accountant. It's Dino Fury. It's the newest season. She does go on a date. I mean, cool, but the girl is rarely... She shows up like one other time. And it's not like we're developing a full blown relationship going on here. It's just kind of, they're there. Okay, cool. Kind of feels like that kiss from the Star Wars movie that was for gay couples. I'm like, yay, it's there, and now I don't care.
And those of us that are of that persuasion didn't care. So yeah,
it's
but
more
anyway,
like
my cat is bitching and I'm hungry, so
yeah, okay.
We might want to wrap it up.
But yeah, that was just something I thought I'd add because someone may have brought it up in the future. Modern Power Rangers doing romance doesn't sound like it would be good. It's not, because they rarely do it and it doesn't come off as good.
Yeah, Modern Power Rangers doesn't appear to be good at anything, Beast Morphers notwithstanding.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
But yeah, we'll close it out now. I hope everybody had fun. Let me know if you guys want me to do more of these tokusatsu based live streams where we talk tokusatsu. I will probably be doing videos in the future too. I'll get to it. I'm going to actually do a recommended Power Rangers list. Though we did a tier list here, I wanted to do an actual normal video where I recommend Power Rangers series that I think people should watch. Mainly for Eric, because Eric said, why don't you do a video like that? And I've been procrastinating and I haven't done it yet. So I'm going to work on that.
And we need to get Eric more into geek stuff and less into sports ball. So
yes.
Yay.
Absolutely. Anyway, so yeah, that's the end of the stream. I hope everybody had fun. If you're watching this, later on, I hope everybody enjoyed it while they listen to us in the background. Thank you very much. And we'll see you all next time.
Cheers, guys.